Troops, what is happening? Look, the man Grado will be here in a minute, but we've got something to tell you about. We've got a sponsor for this episode, REKORD Events. Now, they are a new techno events company that's just started in like Glasgow. They just ran their first event in Club 69 in Paisley. They had acts like Dominique playing and stuff. So we'll put the after movie of that on after this ad, so you can see it gets a bit rowdy in there. But look, it's it looks amazing, Troops. So they're running another event on the 15th of April in Club 45, which is in Merchant City. And artists playing on the lineup are people who are featured at like major festivals like Riverside and Terminal V. And I was speaking to the guy who owns it, and he said he told me their plans, right? He told me their plans. I can't tell you, obviously, but it's big. It's very big. So what I want you to do, Troops, is first of all, go and buy a ticket for that event, 15th of April, Saturday. As I said, it gets a bit rowdy. If you're into the fast stuff, if you're into the boom, 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 fast, yeah? We're talking hardcore here, yeah? Go buy a ticket for it. Me and Jamie Boy will be there. And we're running a meet and greet at the decks. So we will be there. And we hope to see you there. What I want you to do, though, is they've just started, you know, they've run one night. This is their second night that they're running. They've got big plans. Really, honestly, Troops, they do. So what I want you to do is go and follow their Instagram. We'll put it on screen just now. If you're an audio listener, it's just at @record_events on Instagram, and that's record with a K, so REKORD_events. And you can get their tickets on skiddle.com. So we will link all of this in the description. I want you to go down there. Even if you're like, I don't know, just go click, have a wee look. Have a wee look at the after movie of their first event, and you'll see the sort of vibe we are going for here. The boys behind it are really passionate about it. They want to make this a big thing. So, Troops, this isn't going to just be a wee thing that's a flash in the pan, you know what I mean? They're planning to put on good events. They've got big DJs playing. And, Troops, they have a resident DJ, GMJC. They're just back from supporting big techno heavyweights, Deruxin and Perplex in Liverpool. So you're getting high quality DJs at these events. It's going to be insane. So we hope to see you there, Troops. Again, get down to the description at @record_events on Instagram. Go give them a follow, Troops. It would mean a lot to us. And the boys behind it, they're trying to grow this thing. So thank you and enjoy Grado.
I like your dirty mind, mine's on it all the time. Oh, let me shake it, oh, Polaroid it, shake it. I'm a graffiti girl, I wanna spray it. I like to throw a paint, you wanna throw a paint. I like that. I like your dirty mind, mine's on it all the time. Oh, let me shake it, oh, Polaroid it, shake it. I'm a graffiti girl, I wanna spray it. I like to throw a paint, you wanna throw a paint. I like that. I'm knocking, I'm hip-hopping, you lace me up, fight. It's getting tricky, you're getting sticky.
Day-to-day, the shit change, but you know for the most part nothing indifferent. Sometimes be stuck in my ways, weekend fucked up in somebody's kitchen, sticking my hand, I'm chilling with the Troops and my few cans down, so I walk like Winston. Trust me, I wake up hanging, you think that I'm leaving this bed, you're kidding, I'm sitting on back in the pad, get deep fried and I smoke some packs of the grass, put my feet up, kick back and relaxing at best, no I'm sitting on Reilly's Gaff.
Troops, what's happening? We're back in with the lead singer of President Prime, Omar the Great.
Matt Classic, the man himself.
Yous that's how do you know that? How do you President Prime?
Mate, I've heard yous were good, by the way.
How do you know that?
Heard yous were good. We've got our ways, mate.
Sold at the Cat House in 2004.
Mate,
Did you?
Aye.
I heard you're the lead singer then, so you got a set of pipes on you.
Aye.
And it was
No, I'm not a good singer.
What kind of band was it? President
It was
Prime?
like it was like metal, kind of screamy, kind of all that. And folk would never ever think that. Everybody thinks like I would never be into that type of music. But see, growing up, man, I was into wearing like Marilyn Manson,
death metal and that.
Tracky Taps and Slipknot. I went to see Metallica on my 16th birthday. I was mad for all that sort of music.
Aye.
And we went with President Prime was the name of the band, and we won the talent show 2 years strong. Now you're song.
Ladies, have a moment back
Come
to back.
on,
Can I just make sure that the listeners know it's president with a
Z.
With a Z.
With a Z to be spicy.
I
Do you know what I mean?
So sold at the cat house. That's that.
I'm talking shit. I never sold it. I was like, what? No, it was pay to play. Like it was like once she sell like 100 tickets, you got to make money. Right. It was one of these pay to play things I had in the cat house. We sold 49.
Oh, man,
it's not bad. Wants to fit a coach. Wants to get a coach
up
to
get a bus in for Stevenson.
That's what we did. Get a bus for Stevenson up to Glasgow. Brilliant. And then I found my leotard, man. That was it. Never looked back.
So do you think like with that? Do you think you've always been kind of destined for like being on a stage and that?
Right. So I don't know if I should say this, right? When I was a wee boy, right, I was obsessed with a singer that's no longer at the jail.
Right. Who is it?
Gary Glitter.
Oh, Kelly?
No, it was Gary Glitter.
Was it really?
Legit. I went to Tenerife. See when I on it.
Wait, was it?
I was.
Gary Glitter. You had some good tunes,
I'm not joking. So I went to Tenerife when I was a wee boy, right, and there was a Gary Glitter tribute act.
So what was this when Gary Glitter was bad?
No, come on. Right, this was like I was like in 1992, 1993.
Okay,
I was only maybe 4 or 5 year old. And we were in Tenerife and there was a tribute act on, and see that night I saw this guy dressed as Gary Glitter. I was just like, I was like, this guy's the man, right?
Aye.
I mean that, and I started dressing up as him at Halloween. Oh fuck!
When you have you got a picture of that?
I don't think I have got a picture of it, right? I hope I've not got a fucking picture of it, right? And I used to like see at Christmas and stuff like that. I'd used to go up in front of the family and then like, come on, in front of all the family, and like all the family would always go, "You're gonna end up on the stage one day, son. You're gonna end up on the stage." Can that kind of carry on?
Did you pure feed off it?
I loved it, man. I loved it.
Something about him.
With the Hoover used it as a microphone and stuff like that. Come on, get off your feet. Come on, Uncle Jimmy. Come on, hey, come on. My first ever concert, October 1993, right? So I was obsessed. It was November 1993. I was obsessed with this. I feel terrible saying his name because, by the way, he's a scumbag and it's horrible what he done. But I can't lie. That is what happened. This is before all this ever came out.
The Glit Man.
And so I remember I was obsessed with him, and I always remember my mum said to me on a Friday night. I was staying at my grand's the Friday, Saturday, and she went, and the Sunday she went, "We've got a treat for you. We've got a treat for you." And I was like, "What?" So all weekend, right? I'm fevered. Gran, but it's a surprise and all that. She was like, I can't tell you. So she picked me up, my mum and my dad picked me up on the Sunday night, right? We drove up to Glasgow, right? Went to the SCCC, and we went to Hall 1, and it said Singing Kettle, right? Right? And then it said Hall 2, Gary Glitter. And my mum went, "Oh, John, we should have known Gary Glitter's playing here tonight." I was like, what is it? She says, "You're going to see the Singing Kettle, son."
Oh,
right?
no.
And I was like, "Oh, Mum," right? She's like, "Oh, son, I'm so sorry. So I was devastated, right? So we're standing in the queues to pick up tickets for the Singing Kettle, and I've got tears running down my eyes, man, right? And we go to the front of the box office, and my mum got the tickets, she's like, got the tickets and turned around and went, "Son, come on. And I was like, pure Greek, I can see Gary Glitter.
What age were you, like 5 or something?
I was in primary 3. At the time.
Were you like, see when he get caught, were you like, never? Were you outside with signs and that? No, I don't think there was ever a case for him.
I probably didn't even understand at the time as well, because I was probably only like in primary 7. But it's funny because I remember like working with the Singing Kettle, and I was going like, I went, "Do you ever remember doing a concert with Gary Glitter?" And they were like, "How'd you know that?" And I was like, I was there the night, and they were like, "We pure remember that." They were like, because it was Artie and Silla, and Artie's going, "Silla, remember we played with Gary Glitter? He was there." Or this kind of thing.
Oh my God,
Mate,
man.
I remember I went to Singing Kettle in SCCC when I was heavy young. But I don't
everybody
really
did, I
remember
think.
that.
So get a Singing Kettle story, right? So A couple of years later, I go to see the Singing Kettle. Right?
You've grown up a bit.
I went for Gary Gladys Singing Kettle, and they were at school, and at the Airgate, right, and so there was this part of the show where the Singing Kettle went, right, we need somebody for the audience to come and do a wee bit on the stage. So I'm like, putting her up all day, right? And I get picked to go up on the stage, right? So I'm on the stage, and it was like, I had to hold a puppet, and there's a bucket of water, and it was like, dump the pirate seed in the water, dump the pirate seed in the... Kind of like that, whatever. And I'm loving it, right? Just loving life being on the stage. That happens. They put me back to my seat, and then they went, right, boys and girls, we need somebody else, right? And I went, and I put my hand up again, right? And I got picked again.
No way. You're chosen.
So I'm in backstage, and they're getting me ready to go back on, because I think they had to put like a wig on me or whatever, right? And I'm ready to go on, and Artie comes up and went, he's already fucking been on. Right? So I'm still like that going, whoa, I shouldn't have done that.
Aye.
So I could see him flipping out, gone bush. So I started greeting. Right?
Oh, no.
And then they wheeled me back on the stage again, and I'm going devastated, because I knew I'd peed off the Singing Kettle.
Oh my
so
God.
I always remembered that. So I remember when we done Scott Squad, I said, because I always had that thing in the back of my mind, that memory in the back of my mind, that what happened on the stage with the Singing Kettle.
A harrowing memory.
A harrowing memory. And I was like, I wanted to do something where I pulled the Singing Kettle and we lift them, and then I bring that up.
Aye.
And so I can't remember if I did bring it up. I think it got cut anyway.
Aye.
But I remember going, you made me great when I was a Ben. It was like, who was that officer? He's like playing along. He was brilliant.
Oh, that's class.
So speaking about like Scott, just went on it, I was wondering, do you like... you were saying like you had that idea. Do you like write bits for it? So are you in the writing room and that for it? Or?
No, what happens is 90% of the stuff that you get given, they've done it, they've wrote it.
Right.
And it always is a couple of paragraphs, and there's no lines to learn and that. But what it is such and such, the traffic police are out and they find somebody that's driving without a licence. You run it through. You realise he's got a barbecue in the back of his boot and all that. Just that, you know, and then you just need to play along with it. But they always say to you every year, look, if you've got any ideas. So a couple of times I would throw some ideas. A lot of them never get used, but the ones that did get used was the Michelle McManus one. I kind of thing with that one where I pulled her over and I became fascinated by her and got pictures with her and stuff like that. And then in the last... Sorry, Drips. And then in the last series there, I came up with a one about me getting... I don't know if you saw it. Where I get split up with my partner.
Right.
My partner, and what happens was he's now been promoted to being an inspector, but there's CCTV footage of me, like, because I've not got a partner, I'm like pushing in the street, eating kebabs on the job. I get caught on the Rangers bus. Did you see the bit? I'm on the Rangers bus and I'm like, get rid of your bottles, by the way. So that got put in it. So that was always good for Scots Wood, that they would always let you put in wee bits and bobs.
So you can, they'll give you it almost like the way if like in wrestling, if they gave you like a promo, but like, almost like bullet points, and you can kind of add your wee shit.
That's exactly like it. By the way, that is totally like it, and that's every. That's why I always struggled with that. Like, because when I done TNA in America, man, there was sometimes they would give me stuff, and I'd be like, "What the?" I remember one time when I was in Wrestling America and TNA, they gave me a script, and the story was that I was a fan of this 1970s talk show host in America, and I'm like, mate, I'm from Scotland, and I'm like 25. I was like 25 at the time. I'd meant to know who this guy was, and I had to read this promo out as if I was a fan of this guy.
Like Johnny Carson or something.
Somebody like that. Do you know what I mean? Somebody like that.
It's just a bit.
By the way, you used to remind me. See when I was watching you yesterday. Remind me. Did you ever watch Howard Stern?
The Baba Booey.
Baba Booey and all that. Are you into all that?
No, I just know about it.
No, I just with the way you were going on yesterday, sort of put me back to like 90s Howard Stern. I just thought I'd say that.
Radio kind of thing.
Pirate radio kind of. No care what you say.
That's
and
what
like
we're going for.
getting folk on that like it's no shock job, but no even that. Just like wanting to hear folk stories. And that's what Howard Stern would always do. He would always find like the weirdest, wackiest folk or folk not making a wave, and they would give them a wee bit of platform and go home and have a bit of banter. That's what it reminded me.
Is he not still doing stuff?
But he's completely different now. Like now, he's like he would never ever get the folk on that he had back in the 90s.
Now pure like woke. sort of guy.
He's very like,
Aye, well, I thought he was
but
the
he didn't
complete
leave,
opposite.
he didn't leave his house for about 3 years because of the COVID and stuff like that. He's a very kind of, he's different from what he was. But if you watch him,
what is it? He's on
Sirius
Sirius
FM.
That's
I always
it.
think if you've been famous that long in that, and you're like, I don't know, you're in that ain wee bubble, I think you either go one or two ways, know what I mean? Like, you always see that with cunts, like people that have been like about since like the 90s, it's like, what's he up to now? And it's like, he's fucked, man. He doesn't leave his house, or he's a mad conspiracy theorist or something. There's always one or two ways in
I
that.
think it must get, for some folk, it must just like completely, I can understand why some of them end up going crazy.
I mean, you like we were talking about this. Jamie was saying like so say we have a guest on, right? And we're like, we're having this person on, and then like 9 people might go, that sound, then one person but fucking wank. Why are you getting him on for or something? But we find it pure. Everybody, like Jamie was saying, all the generations know you and sort of love you. Do you ever find, see the whole? Because obviously you are very, even just for meeting you now, you're very normal. You're no like, didn't come in and go, no talk to us, and then when the cameras come on, you're not like that. You're very normal. So do you ever find that the level of fame you've got, do you ever find it hard to deal with? Or do you enjoy it?
Well, it's, how can I say it? Because I always wanted, I don't ever want to say that I'm famous or whatever, because I always feel as if that sounds, it just doesn't sound right.
Tacky.
But if I'm being brutally honest, right, it's cool getting recognised in the street and stuff like that. But there's sometimes like let's see if I wake up and I'm in a bit of kind of a mood, right? It's like if I know I need to go into Morrison's or whatever. Sometimes I know. Sometimes I sit outside and go, I don't know if I can get through this because I know I'm going to have to talk to like 10, 12, 15 folk, and it's like. It's not that I hate it, but sometimes I'm just like, man, I'm going to help. And sometimes I feel as if I need to put on a show.
But that's
do you know what I mean? I feel as if I need to whip into
Because
because do you know what? It's very, very funny, right? Because one time I remember being with Big Drew McIntyre. And he told me once, he goes, it's so weird going out in the tune with you. He goes, because folk will come up to me and go, how you doing, Drew, and shake your hands and be quite intimidated by the big man, but then with me they'll go, alright, Grado, mate, Dafty, we still doing that wrestling shit.
Because of the way you and like the way, I guess, like, you are quite like a big personality in that, and I'm sure you know that, but at the same time, you're not like that. You're not going to be like that 24 hours a day.
No.
But you know that if you go into Morrison's and there's somebody there, oh my god, Grado, you can't be like that, alright. You need to be, and it's like,
It's because you come across as like personable.
But I've seen folk that are less, that have had less exposure than me, and I've been to the street and I've been like folk asking for photos, and they go, no, they're not, mate. We're out dinner. And you go, what are you
I
doing,
can never do
man?
that. I can never.
What are you doing? Because you've got to remember, man, these folk remember that. And for some folk, because like I always think it's the big thing is I love when folk tell me like they're young boys on YouTube and watching Grado videos, and if you meet them and you shake their hand, I always think, they guys are never, because now because I've been doing this for so long, it's getting to the point where we guys that were like 7, 8 year old that first came to see me wrestling are now 16, 17. Right? And they're like, man, I used to love coming and see you, and you gave me a hat and all that, and I'm like, that feels
cool
good.
Memories for we guys, innit? Like, you're pure, like, if you meet them, that's so like you might just go, oh, it's happening to me, man, you're right, and walk away, but then that wee guy's like, oh, mind, I met him when I was 6, man, smoking out, and I was smoking out in a gaff, mate, and I was 30, like, I met that
on the crystals.
Met that Grado when I was 8.
That's but that's, you've always got to have that in the back of your mind.
It blows my mind that people can like just send people away, like, do you know what I mean?
I cringe at it. I totally cringe at it. I've always got time for folk, but as I say, it's not a hit, but sometimes I'm like, it can make you anxious. That's really bit anxious, man.
That's when you start, like, I think they people are like the ones that start believing they're in shite, if you know what I mean.
Well, you know what you always hear, right? You always hear that, like, the bigger the celebrity, sometimes the more sounded they are.
Aye.
It's like I was saying in the boys podcast when I was talking about Hulk Hogan, one of the soundest guys I've ever met, had plenty of time for me, and you think, but there's been other wrestlers that they couldn't lace his boots that have been like arseholes to me.
Just different personalities and all, innit? Like, do you think there's a mad level of fame that you go through, a mad like therapy thing that's like, right, you need to be like that? Like, because you know how when you see videos of like Tom Cruise, probably like the most famous cunt in the world, see when you see him getting interviewed, he's always like pure switched on, and he turns to somebody else and he's talking, and he's constantly Tom Cruise, know what I mean? So do you think they need to go through a mad thing, or do you think it's like they'll save up all that bad feeling for one day they go and do all their media?
It could be that. It could be that, because and the fact that they've been doing it for so long, they're so used to it, it's just become second nature to them.
Switch, innit?
It's a switch, and that possibly is just who they are every day because they've been doing it for that long.
Mate, I seen something the other day that was like, it was like paparazzi were like taking pictures of like Kendall Jenner or something, or Kylie Jenner or whatever, and like their manager was like flashing like his phone light in their cameras, so it fucked their pictures up. But it was like it was like a 5-minute video of him doing it everywhere she goes, mate, and it's just like just getting out of her house and getting in a motor, and there's a mad guy behind her with a mad flashlight like that, and just think, how do these cunts like get away with shit? Like, it's definitely obviously just normal people, but do you get trouble with like paparazzi and that? Is that a mad thing?
No, I tell you what, I don't get it that way, but what I do get is if I tweet something, put up a picture, if I say something dodgy in a podcast, then what happens is there's usually journalists that scour through these things and then they take it and put it into an article.
Aye, and make
that is annoying.
I think that's
that is annoying, like, because it's like, I remember one time I done a podcast and I told a story about how I wanted to be a postman when I was younger, right? And I told the story about how, because first of all I wanted to be a post cadet. I was 16. You could go and do the post cadet things, and I basically was in the interview. I done well, right? But there was got to a part where they were going, "What's your thoughts on sectarianism?" And I went, "Listen, I go to Ibrox, but when they start singing the sash, I just sit down. I'm not interested." And all that. That is what happened. I started waffling rubbish because I didn't know how to answer the question. Right? I should have went sectarianism's this and blah blah blah. But I was going, I go to Ibrox, but see, there's any of that sectarianism. I just puts me off it, right? And then I said it on the podcast, and then like a day later, it was like Grado says that he never got into the post because. They switched it. And I'm just like, I don't want that to be an article because then what happens is because like this is what truly annoys me. So like I put up that I was going to be a dad. And I was like, I'm going to be a dad in November. Great news, so happy, and all the rest of it. And then what the papers do is they put up great, which I don't mind them running a story on it. Right? That's kind of quite nice that they think of me that much to put a story out. But what the problem is they put it on their Facebook socials. Now, you know what the comments are like on Facebook on a news article, whether it's anybody. But it's like, I've only been going with my girlfriend for, she's my fiancée, Christ, 4 years this year. So it was like, when they reported on the article, they went into her Facebook, right? And there's this I hate this picture. It's like, it was during lockdown, there was my Rangers and Celtic game, the 2 years are wearing Rangers taps, right? So like when my Rangers taps, and that was like what they used, right?
That's so
they went into her Facebook, right, to like find this, because I don't put up pictures of me because we're entering with Fatba because it's just too much trouble.
So it's so polarising and shit.
100%, man, right? So there's a picture like me and her in the Rangers taps, and my fiancée, she's got nice teeth, right? She really has nice teeth and they're natural, but all the comments are, oh, fucking turkey teeth and who's this, right? And you're
poor lassie, man.
She's got nothing to do with this. Like, she's literally got nothing to do with this.
Imagine scouring through a Facebook like that. Is that pure like?
So things like that I get paranoid about, like so that's probably to the extent where you're like, I don't get folk following me with cameras and stuff like that, but it's just you very need to watch what you post and whatever, because it's alright you putting that to your fans and your audience who appreciate it, but they're then going to put it out in the open for everybody to see, and that's just for everybody. It's like
a new version of like paparazzi, and like scouring through our social media and like grabbing.
But I mean, it's no other journalists, man. Some of them are really, really good, man, and they're
try to keep people
fucking right.
But anyway, obviously all this success, but your first love, man, wrestling, right? So I want to go back to wrestling. What's your sort of first memories of it? Getting into wrestling, were you into it for you like one like Gary Glitter when you were finished? When you were finishing Gary Glitter, you're watching Raw. Like, how did you get into it?
I remember, so I never liked wrestling that young. Right, it was all my pals that liked wrestling, and I used to. Am I right, Jamie? I used to slag it, if I'm being honest, because I didn't have Sky, and it was one of the ones that I wasn't exposed to it, so you just called it shite. You know that way? That's a lot of rubbish. And then we eventually did get Sky, and I remember watching Raw on a Friday night and seeing The Rock come out, and I was like, oh, who's this guy? This guy. Like, I couldn't care about anything else. I was like, who's coming out with a $600 shirt, the tan, the sideys? And I went, he's the man, right? And then I became so obsessed with The Rock, but then in that I got obsessed with the wrestling, and I thought, what is this, man? This is incredible. And then it just feels like overnight I became obsessed with it. Like, within like 6 months, it was like all my pals were now kind of going at it. Right. I'm like, well, let's not work.
You're daft at 4 in the morning.
They're talking about breaking their VL and stuff like that, and I'm like, no, raw.
You seen The
Rock? And like within 6 months, I became literally obsessed with like kenning all their real names and stuff like that. And like when I went internet and just became like, I just couldn't let it go.
What was it about it that you pure loved? Is it just how?
Dude, I think it's just I don't know. I still don't even. I think it's just that, like, it sounds daft, but see, just the entrances to the ring and the spectacle of it, like a guy coming out in a character and then getting in the ring and then I don't even know, man.
See, do you know what? Like, I know.
I just love it. I still love it. I just still think it's the best thing ever.
No, it used to get me with The Rock, right? Like, back in the day, like, obviously before he left and came back or whatever. See, and you do this, right? So I know you were captured by this and all. See coming out and then on the outside of the turnbuckle getting up but see how when he done that and then the flashes, that was like, you're like, what the fuck, man?
Aye, that's that. The whole crowd, was, and then the signs, and then the catchphrases as well. Like, you know what I mean? Speaking along, in the millions and millions, just bring it. Ken, I was obsessed with every party, and see, like you're saying about, like, I mean, I used to like. In my house, I had the WWF Music Volume 4 album, and I would just I'd come in from school, get changed, and just do entrances in my room. Like, kid, there was a crowd and all that, hold up the belt, I have belts and stuff like that. I was obsessed with it. And then when I went to my gran's every weekend, right? See, when it was like 12, 13, and they were going out drinking and stuff like that, I was still going to my gran's. And man, see, when I think back to it, my head was warped. Like what I used to do, man. I used to have this character in my head called Badass Mike Austin. Right?
Mike Austin.
Have you heard me say this before anywhere? No?
No, I have not.
I had a character called Badass Mike Austin in my head. I was Steve Austin's brother.
Mike? Steve's brother, Mike?
I believed I was Steve Austin's brother. Badass Mike Austin.
Badass.
And like, I'd wrestle in my gran's bed, and like the pillow was my opponent and stuff like that. I'd jump off her cupboard.
Did you ever lose?
But I'd never.
Never.
I would take it to the extremes, right? Because what I'd do, I'd go, right, I've got the belt, I've got the entrance. What can I do next? Right, I need to wear like wrestling gear. And so this one, like, so
do you know what's coming here?
No, but I can imagine.
So my gran had a pair of these thick black tights. Right. And I stuck them on once, right? And I thought, wow, these look like wrestling tights, right? And she had a wee tartan waistcoat, and I thought, I'm Steve Austin's brother, but I'm from Scotland. I've got a tartan waistcoat, right? But I wear black tights instead of black trunks. And every week I would always like daymare. And then like one weekend I remember going. I remember my Uncle Jimmy stayed with my gran, right? He was like in his 60s and still stayed with my gran, right? Don't ask. And I remember this one weekend I thought, right, I need to take it to another level. I need to bleed. Aye, that's just where my head would go. And so I kind of knew how they done it. Like, they used like a razor blade and stuff like that, right? So this one time, man, my gran's like sitting watching, I don't know, You Bet with Matthew Kelly on a Saturday night, watching it. And I remember having her black tights on and a tartan waistcoat and running through the bedroom out to the back door and smashing a bottle. It was called Purdy's. Remember Purdy's? A bottle, right?
Aye.
I smashed it, right? And I went and cut my head. To blade against the pillars as Badass Mike Austin in my grand's room.
In front of nobody.
Right in front of it. But I'm wrestling and my gran was like, blood or a fucking...
They're gonna love this.
Aye, right. And then I get a chap in the door and I'm going, don't come in. And it was my Uncle Jimmy, and he walked in and saw his nephew standing there. And his ma's tights, man. With blood running all down his face. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm standing like going, nothing. But that's how obsessed I was with wrestling.
I love how, like, see how if that was any other situation, any of your pals at that time, they don't come in. That's because they're probably battered 1.5. But you don't come in. You get blocked around
back there. But that's just to show you how much I loved it.
Mate, there's still money in that match, mate. Steve Austin had a match. His brother.
Badass Mike Austin used to come into Mudvayne Dig. Ding, 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 ding,
I like it a lot.
And then I used to
come
phone...
out to President Prime at one point.
Aim theme song. Sing it, then go out.
I used to... But how I got started in wrestling was, again, because I was at my grand's every weekend, there was a radio station called Talk Sport, right? And they done a talk wrestling show between 8 and 10 every Saturday night, and I'd listen to it every week.
Talk Sport.
Right, I Talk Sport. Talk Sport, they had a wrestling show on a Saturday night, and folk would phone in and stuff like that, and they had wrestlers on. And I remember going, I need to do this, like, because it was a British wrestler, and I remember phoning up and asking, look, is there any wrestling schools in Scotland? And he said, well, actually there is, and I'm going to be up there in the next couple of months. You should get to it and stuff like that. And that's how I got started in wrestling. And you know what the funny thing is? See, about a year ago, somebody uncovered that clip. You know, some fucking, like, he's a good guy, actually, Ian Dice Clay's on Twitter. But he's right into his wrestling. He uncovered that clip. And the best thing about that clip is, because I used to phone it up every week and, let's say, you know, like, I'd ask things like, what was that I'd say? Like, is Scott Steiner on steroids?
Right. Do you know who Scott Steiner is?
No.
Jamie, pull up Scott Steiner.
For context, I've never watched wrestling.
Right.
Like, a wee guy ever, mate.
So we are two opposite sides of the spectrum.
I know you watch it because I remember you saying, reminded you of Dusty Rhodes or something like that.
This cunt,
but you said that the Mark Dallas interview. You mentioned Dusty Rhodes.
Aye,
I thought he must like wrestling or something.
Aye, well, it's funny. There's Scott Steiner there, Janky.
Look at this cunt, man.
So I phoned up Talk Sport on the Saturday night. I went, is Scott Steiner on steroids? He went, well, growing for legal reasons, we can't talk about that.
Mate, can we, JWC, while we're talking, can you try and find that Twitter thing? Do you know the guys?
You can find it if you type in Grado Talk Sport, you'll find it
on Twitter. That'd be good, mate.
And what's funny about it is, because you know how I was at my grand's every weekend, I would phone it up anyway, and I was battering my grand's phone bill.
Oh, aye, because it's gone £pound everything.
Right, he's not in it. My gran was paying like about £16 a year for a phone bill, and it suddenly went up to like £60. She's like, what's going on? And so she said, stop phoning this wrestling radio station. And funny enough, the phone call where I did phone up and ask about wrestling training, she says, don't phone it anymore. So I'm in the room and I'm waiting in the queue going, hurry up before my grand comes, hurry up. She's going, oh, you're in line 6, you've been in a couple of minutes. I'm going, hurry up. And then eventually when I came on air and started talking, you hear it, she barges in and goes, no. It's about 30 seconds in, you can hear it in the background.
You're sitting on the phone with blood coming down your blood out of the phone.
Have you got it, Jamie?
Well, let's go to Graham. He's called the show from Ayrshire. Hi, Graham. You're on Talk Sport. Nikita, Alex, Shane, and Tommy here.
It's about the British wrestling scene. When I listen to Talk Sport and you talk about Harrow High School and FWA, and since I live in Scotland, it doesn't really come up to Scotland. The only real thing that does is BWF, which I went a couple of times.
You know what you're talking about?
Is that the counterfeit shows, all the fakes and everything?
Yeah, it's the ones that kid on the Stone Cold and Kane, which is pathetic.
Yeah, no, Mike Austin.
Without getting
it's embarrassing.
I will tell you that.
You missed my granddad. Go back 5 seconds.
Sorry.
You can hear my gran going.
Really appearing on the show. Now,
you're on the back, aren't you?
But without getting I will
put that to one side.
I will tell you that.
I'm going. Fuck off.
Wrestling as a company. I'm going to be appearing on the show. Now they're going to hate me because I've totally forgot the date. I think it's February the 6th. I may be wrong, but. As for the website address, I had all this written down and it's in my bag. So what I say, if you go to Graham, go to www.alexshane.com and it will have a date of where I'm appearing.
That's right, here you saying bye.
Also on the link page will be the website for Scottish Championship Wrestling, and I'll tell you when their next show is. So that's for all our people up in Scotland. And and I'll be telling people more about that show closer to the time.
Graham, thanks for your call. Lots of emails and texts.
I never go on it. So he told me about that show in Scotland, and I turned up at it, and like knew all the wrestlers and whatever. Go to meet them all backstage, and that was sort of like the start of my wrestling career was through that that phone call.
Mate, you sounded like a very composed 13-year-old mate. No, you knew you were
very well spoken.
It's all the BDF and it's a lot of shit.
I thought you were going to be like,
but it's grand.
You sound like you're reading a script.
There was
good,
one
mate.
time I went on it and I done an impersonation of Goldust one weekend. I know it was Goldust. They know that down the phone and they're like, cool. Thanks, Graham. Great information.
Like the guys that call the super scoreboard and every week. Oh, here we go.
Can I speak to Shu, please? Can I speak to Shu?
Who's that mad guy that phones it in that's got all the mad words? Not
I know you.
Laurie Fidenison.
I've actually been ill in my bed for the past 2
I'm
weeks.
convinced that's just Hugh Keevins when he's off. He's like,
He's got a good vocabulary about that boy, ain't he? But he's never. And that's like, it's kind of like when you're listening to Clyde. It's kind of like when The Rock comes out, isn't it? Let's go to Laurie Fidenison. Him.
He just comes in like it's the quintessential meaning of that. Fucking madness.
So how for there did you start training? Was it this? Did he tell you about? They tell you about a school to go to?
I kind of mixed up, but when I went to that was the first Scottish show, and then they said they were starting training, and so. But then there was another company as well that I kind of found out about. My first training session in wrestling was June the 6th, 2002. I'll never forget that because. Drew Galloway, because Drew Galloway was on that show that his first ever match was that show that they're talking about, the February 2002, and I done a report on the match on the internet, right? He gave him a pile driver and he pinned him and kind of and Drew, and I go, the thing that I'll take from the show is I could hear all the wrestlers talking, I could hear what they were calling their next move and stuff like that. And I remember like a week later I was sitting on AOL Messenger. Did you ever go on that? AOL. And it came up, Drew Galloway. He went, could you hear me talking? I was like, there's a boy for the wrestling. And so we kind of got talking. And there was Red Light, and I got talking to him in MSN. We all kind of started talking to each other in MSN, and we went to this wrestling training. And Drew was like the first guy to show me how to bump and stuff like that. And then I was terrible, man.
He must have been really young at that point still, eh?
Well, I remember, so I went to that for a couple of sessions. A couple of months later, we went to a training session with Jake the Snake Roberts in a post office in East Kilbride. Don't ask why, right? But it was an old warehouse, but there was mats doing and stuff like that. And he turned up, man, swigging whiskey, belly out, pure, sweating, Mars bars.
Rock star.
Right, there was about 20 years, and he went, none of yous are ever going to make it in wrestling. Right? But he went, apart from that guy, and pointed to Drew.
Did he?
He's going to do it. And but I always remember that he couldn't. He was there. He couldn't give a fuck. He sat in the corner and ate and drank and whatever. He never showed us nothing. But at the end, when he was just about to leave, I approached him and I went, excuse me, sir, could you, how do you punch? Right, because we'd never ever, because when you start wrestling training, the last thing you start to learn is like your strikes and stuff like that. It's always like technical stuff like bumping and how to look up and it takes a while before you start learning how to do strikes. But I thought, tell it, man, Jake the Snake. I went, how do you punch? Now bear in mind, I'm only 14. I went, how do you punch? And he went, and punched me. And I couldn't feel a hand. Right, and I went, what? Jake the Snake was punched.
So what does, like, for a novice, a wrestling novice, is it just like they go and stop just before it?
There's ways, there's all different ways. Everybody has different. Some folk use.
Watch the Rock punch. It's just slapping. It's just a slap.
Sometimes folks slap the Rock slaps his thigh, but it's so quick that you struggle to see it. When he's punching, he strikes. And he slaps his thigh.
And doesn't he come near the face?
Well, we always connect. You just want to like what Ric Flair used to always do was he would thing with a bit of string for the roof for the ceiling, and what he would do was he would try and get it to connect his hand connect to the bit of string, but no make the string move. But with some force, so it takes years to try and master like the perfect sort of punch.
Do you get different wrestlers that are like? He's class.
100%. Scott Hall, best puncher. Jeff Jarrett got an offer punch, right?
Right.
And then there's some folk that just don't do punches because you hardly ever see punches in wrestling nowadays because it's changed through the years that there's not that many punching.
I do remember like when my pals used to all wrestle and that, like and like some 1 hour hussies or something on like a Saturday morning, like they used to always be wrestling. I was just sitting like they did. They used to stamp and do that.
Some folk do that. I know. Some folk do that to get a wee bit of effect.
Thought it was.
But, sorry, you go, mate.
No, but I just saying I remember getting him that night and like telling my mum, man, Jason, Jake Snake, I thought I was going to say Jake Snake raped me there.
His dad did that.
Jake Snake pure buzzing about it. Jake Snake actually raped me, man.
Troops, if you want, we're not going to talk about it. If you want to hear something fucked up, Google's Jake the Snake Roberts' dad. Look into that. Do you know about that?
Yes.
That's fucked up.
Right, we can't talk about it.
We're not talk about it.
Okay.
But if you want to come out, watch Beyond the Mat. Beyond the Mat is a great documentary,
That's
man.
him. That was them phoning him about during when he would have been sort of that period.
It was running about the same time.
Troops, if you are involved in an accident and it was not your fault, there's only one place to go, G4 Claims. Now, we record all our podcasts in the G4 Claims studio, and we can't speak highly enough of them. So, if you're in a wee road accident, you get a wee bump in the road, you don't know what to do, you're panicking, it's never happened to you before, you don't know what to do, give them a phone, and you can get G4 on 01698 767 172. That's 01698 767 172. And their website also, if you want to go on that, is notatfaultclaim.com. It's a completely free process. They're going to take care of everything for you, make it stress free, and yeah, get you back on the road. Cheers. Troops, look, pubes, what can we say about them? They're in and then they're out, aren't they? And what would you say, the 60s, the 70s, Manscaped would not have had any business. Pubes were everywhere and nobody cared. It was just the thing. I mean, think about, I don't know what age you are watching this podcast. Our main demographic is maybe 18 to 30 year old. So I want you to think about your mother. Now, when your mother was in the 70s, even maybe the early 80s, you can fucking bet your bottom dollar she'd have bush on her, yeah? And your dad. And your dad, see, let's be honest, your dad probably still does have one. And the way you can cure your dad of this is buying him a Manscaped package. Now, Troops, we've spoken about Manscaped. I'm sure you've heard of them before. But man, talk about life-changing. My penis, and this is, Manscaped do not promise this, but this is what's happened to me. They do not guarantee this, but this is my experience. Manscaped sent us a product, and my dick has grown easy 3 inches. So I'm sitting with a 6-incher at the moment, guys, and it's ready to go. But if you're ready to go and you're ready to get those pubes off, maybe you're annoyed at your dad's pubic area. You've been trying to explain to him, no, you need to shave your pubes, Dad. He's like, fuck all that. Fuck all that. Then get him a Manscaped package. So they do have the performance package. They've got the perfect package. You've got a mix and match of things. They've got the Lawnmower 4.0 skin safe technology. So it's made so that it doesn't nick the balls, you know. What else they got? They've got the ball toner. They've got the ball deodorant. So very ball orientated. And honestly, guys, truth be told, this is an absolute game changer. So if you want to sort those pubes out, get to manscaped.com and use the code Reilly's Gaff for free worldwide shipping and 20% off. That's free worldwide shipping and 20% off, Troops. So whatever you get, code Reilly's Gaff, REILLY. That's my own surname, I nearly forgot it there, Troops. REILLYSGAFF. Use the code at checkout and clean up your dad's balls. Cheers. So you're learning then, and then so we had Mark Dallas on, and I kind of asked him how he met you, and he says, oh, I don't know who told him. He's like, this boy's here, and he sells like Rabsy Nisbet, right? See the way you sell. Obviously, he said sells like Rabsy Nisbet. Was that intentional? Were you watching? Now that people are watching like Ric Flair tapes, how's he? And you're watching Rabsy Nisbet getting hit with a bottle and that. Like, oh
no,
or was it just you? That's just.
Context of what selling is.
I was a bit.
Sorry.
Right,
selling is like when you are getting hit in wrestling and you're like selling how much it's hurting you.
So you're like
Your reaction.
I think it kind of explains itself. I get you.
No, I think that just came natural. I've actually forgot about that. But what's funny about the day that we trained with Jake the Snake Roberts, that was the first day I met Dallas. That's 20 years ago, 21 years ago. And I always remember, I don't know if you told this in your podcast, but it's a true story, that when we were getting dropped off at East Kilbride, going into Glasgow Central, he said to me that, he goes, my plan is I want to have a company like ECW. I want to have an extreme wrestling company, and I want to bring all these ECW wrestlers, and it's going to be over 18s, and it's going to be completely different for anything else in British wrestling. And I always remember him saying that. He doesn't remember that, but he done it.
Mad.
He done it.
Vision, mate.
He can't remember. I swear that is what he said to me. But the selling thing, no, I think it just came naturally to me. I think it's just because I'm no the most athletic guy. I had to compensate for no being, selling. I mean, I love selling. I love taking a bump and getting slapped about. It's the best feeling in the world. I'm not joking. I mean, see the adrenaline I get in just leathered in a ring. It's class, and getting up and getting the crowd behind you and everybody, and it's slowly getting the crowd. You feel it coming up, and then you end up getting energy. You do a big comeback.
Feel like a drug almost. Like,
absolutely.
Does it?
And you feel as if you're totally in control. It's like I always say, like, I've managed to, I've done amazing things. I've been on a set with 2 Doors Down, Squad. I've done the pantomime. I've done a one-man show at the King's Theatre. Nothing feels better than being in a wrestling ring. It's where you feel totally in control, and it's just, I can't explain it. And then that feeling once you sometimes like it starts and go, come on, guy comes running, bop, 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 bop. It's just the best feeling in the world.
Is that your your mad true love with entertainment? Is it wrestling? Aye.
I would say it is.
Above, like, no slander and anything that you do outside that, like with your acting and stuff, but like, if you had to pick one thing you do for like the rest of your career? Well,
I don't know if it would be that because it is hard going.
Right.
Because, especially, a lot of folk now, they don't even know I'm a wrestler because of the 2 Doors Down thing and stuff. I wouldn't forget you tell them I'm a wrestler. They go, what? You're a wrestler? But at the height when I was, because it did. I was away for like 18 days a month, like just constantly. You've probably heard me talking about it when Thingy's podcast, what did you call it again?
All About a Billy.
All About a Billy podcast. I was talking about how, because at the time when I was wrestling at my height, I was still working in the fire brigade. I was working in the control room in the fire brigade. So what I was doing was, like, it was 4 on 4 off. So the way I would work it is when I was working for TNA in America, right, I would work my work schedule in it. So what I would do is I would do 4 days in the fire brigade, right, finish in the morning in my last night shift, go out to Glasgow Airport, get a flight to Orlando, wrestle the first night, the second night, the third night, the fourth night, get a flight home, land at Glasgow Airport at like 5:30 in the morning, sleep in the airport for a couple of hours, and then go back on working in the fire brigade at 7 o'clock to do 4 days in the fire brigade.
It's hard going.
So I was just constant. At the weekends, I was doing like Friday night in London, Saturday night in Inverness, Sunday back down to Brighton, and then back up to work. So it was, I never ever got any time off. But now it's like completely changed because obviously my dad now and stuff like that, a fiance. So because I've spoke to him and I was like, I want to get back into doing more wrestling. I want to get in about it, but you need to have the time for it, and I don't know if I'm ever going to have the time to be able to do it anymore.
Too much other stuff on.
Mate, the thing is, I've got a stepdaughter and a daughter. And the problem is, man, her mum's not alive, my mum's not alive, her father can't look after the weans, my father can't look after the weans. We've not got a lot of childcare, and it's mental to think how much it consumes you. I couldn't just go, because back in the day I'd go, there's a booking happening in Newcastle, can you come down tomorrow? I'd be like, right down, but you just can't do that now.
See at first as well, like when you met Dallas, and where was your like first match in front of people?
My first match was in 2004. It was a funny this. It was a handicap match, because what happened was the wrestling trainer at the time was a guy called Conscience, and he was looking for a tag team called the Lowlanders, right? And there were going to be 2 brothers, and so he went, you're one and you're one. Grant and Glenn, the Lowlanders. And I was delighted because I wasn't getting picked to wrestling matches. I was like, what? I'm a Lowlander. That's my new name. And we had to pick between Grant and Glenn. I was like, Bagsy Grant. I was like, I don't want Glenn.
No.
Right? I was like, Grant Mitchell, but I was like, Glenn Michael, whatever. So, but I was just like, I was buzzing, man, that I was going to actually wrestle in a match. Don't get me wrong, there was about 15 folk there. It was at Greenock Town Hall. And I wore, funnily enough, to the ring, I wore my Moss cycling shorts and my grand singlet again, because I was like, I could use badass Mike Austin's starting waistcoat. Right?
So that's changed from being your granny's waistcoat to Mike Austin's
waistcoat. You want to know the funny thing about it is, see, ICW went down to Wales in September there. We went down to do a show and we had the tour bus and we went down, and I'm like, I recognise that driver. I was like, I recognise that row. I went, how do I know you? He went, I gave you your first match in 2004. He was the same guy that was in a handicap match with me. He was like, look where you got in your career, you prick.
I'm fucking driving the bus.
I'm driving the bus.
Were you like, when it was happening, were you like...
I didn't know I was then, mate.
Were you nervous or just excited or like everything?
I didn't know, because when we were training as well, we didn't even have a ring to train in. We were training on mats. So if you can imagine, like, I don't know if you would guess, but we were like running the ropes, we were going... kidding on those ropes. You get what I mean? Like, and he's like running back going, booming after these fake ropes. So the first match I ever had was the first time that I'd ever been in a ring. How mental is that? In front of a crowd.
Mental, man.
The first time I'd ever been in it.
Where was
I get scudded with a chair, Greenock Town Hall.
Oh, the famous
Greenock Town Hall. Aye.
You get scudded with a chair in your first
match? Aye.
On the heat? Mm-hmm. Do you take
Loved it.
Take it away, man?
Ah, of course I did, man. And I remember like... But by the way, can I just say, see, I always say this, right, because see, you can hit a steel chair. That is the serious thing ever, and I'm no joking. Folk think the chairs are like aluminium.
I thought they were tin or something.
No. They can give you right concussions. That's why wrestlers don't do steel chair shots to the head anymore, because they think because of the chair shots over the years, it's kilt wrestlers. They think it's got a big part to play in that. You know, CTE and stuff like that. Remember the documentary about the NFL player?
Aye.
They ended up shooting folk and stuff like that. So we very rarely is there ever a chair shot in the head.
That's such a staple of wrestling and all. Like, and with a steel chair, like that's something that
people knew it's like if it's happening back that like when Dad's talking about ECW, like it was a pride thing for them to like take it on the head and
right.
If you put your hands up, you're a pussy basically.
Right.
If you don't put your hands up, it's like what are you fucking doing?
Aye. It can be quite like people get heat at.
Did you just get it scalped off your nut?
Scalped off my nut. But it was But I always remember because like see between the years of 2004 and 2012, I wrestled like 3 or 4 times a year. Right. I never ever wrestled much, but when I started wrestling as Grado, I always remember I done a match in Ardrossan Civic Centre against one of my best mates, Adam Shame, and we had a hardcore match, and we used a steel chair, and he scudded me over the head with it. And I just went, the blood just started pissing out my maws in the front row. And I remember just lying in the mat and Adam going, you've got colour, enjoy it, brother. And I remember just going, wow, man, this is gallus, man. I was sailing with it. I mean, when I think back to it now, how pathetic it was, because there's wains in the crowd, you know what I mean? Like, there's wee wains with foam horns and all that, like Grado, and I'm pure, you know what I mean? Face all red, going, yeah, man. Like, that's not right, you know what I mean?
I always just thought that the blood was always fake.
No,
like all the time. What is a hardcore match? I know. I'm sorry, I'm up here. So see, hardcore.
Wait, what do you think it is?
So does that mean it's actual punching in that?
No, that means it's just there's no rules. You can use weapons and that.
So there's like day wrestlers. So would you ever fight somebody in a hardcore match and you're like, don't want to fight that cunt because he actually comes in with knees to the face?
You can get that in any match, but there's wrestlers where you know they're going to stiffen you up,
try and hurt you,
try and hurt you. And there's been a couple of times where I've gotten off of doing. In fact, I remember one time I wrestled I was in a battle royal with TNA in Birmingham, and I was dead excited because Matt Hardy was in it, and he battered. At me. And I remember being backstage going, what was that about, man? All your money or something? Like, what's the crack? but see me come back for it feels gallus. You're like, I got to do enough him.
I got to do enough, Matt Hart. That was Matt. No, Matt. Obviously, no. Nobody like Matt. It was Jeff, wasn't it?
Jeff's the man. Aye. I was actually...
You must have met him.
I was in a 10-man tag match with him as well, and he was on the other side. And I don't know what came over me, and you can see it on the internet, but there's a bit where... the wrestling spills out to the outside and we're biffing and bopping and I'm on, and it just kind of went into chaos, and I'm on the ring apron and as if I was going to jump onto to Jeff Hardy, and for some reason I just went like that and done his hangman and jumped onto him. So that was his trademark hang right.
I know about that. I think
I jumped onto him.
Was that like...
Did you say it after disrespect?
Everybody, because like I would always... Like I was... When I was in TNA... that's what I say, isn't it? Like the boys knew I was just a piss take. I remember that like the first night I peed them all off. I remember sitting we were in this hotel room, and there was like Kurt Angle, MVP, the Hardys and all the rest of it, and this was like my first night there, and I was steaming, and I went, I tell you something right here now, I goes, I'm the only guy in this room that can get over. Now get over means to be big with the crowd.
Right, okay,
I goes,
right.
I'm the only guy in this room that can get over, and I'm no joking, right?
And this is
And somebody went, whoa, listen to this motherfucker. You mean Kurt Angle can't get over? You mean Matt Hardy can't go over? And I'm going, well.
See what I said?
Orlando.
Grant, nice to
Listen,
meet
I'm
you.
Glenn's brother. I'm badass Mike Austin, man.
But see, before you go to TNA, and obviously you started with ICW and that, how did that, because obviously you met Dallas, he's like, I want to do this, then you connect later. How did that come about where you started in ICW? Were you there for the very, very start?
No. I always wanted to be in ICW. ICW was like the coolest thing.
Because they had the documentaries, didn't they? So let's go back to the documentaries. What was that like for you? The first one, was that the Scottish wrestler, the first one?
The British wrestler.
The British wrestler, sorry, aye.
Aye, so I had only just started in ICW. For years I would see ICW, it was on the telly, and I'd go, but I'm a wrestler, I should be in this, I should be in about this. And that was how Dallas found out. Somebody told them that I sell like Rapsy Nisbet, right? And so they gave me a chance to be on the show. So I turned up to film like wee backstage skits, like just wee kind of YouTube bits kind of thing. And I got a leotard with Grado on it, because the story is I've got Grado tattooed on my arm, right? Which is a redneck. However, I get called Grado like twice in primary 7, right? Right. And then in Magaluf in 2009, and the last day of our holiday, we all get chucked out of the hotel because we're singing and rowdy and whatever, typical Magaluf, going with the boys and stuff like that. So we all had about €60 left, and we went, let's all get tattoos. So we went to this tattoo parlour steaming, like my pals are getting like Pride and Chinese on their foot, they're getting like their wee sister's name behind their knees and stuff like that.
See, my granny's no DJ, right? But see, when she does, that will mean a lot to me.
Oh, that stuff, right? And I went, they were like, what you gonna get? And I went, Grado. And not man, you used to get called that, right? And so I got it tattooed. I got Grado tattooed on me. And I remember going back to like meet some of the boys that never went for a tattoo, and I was showing them, and they're going, who the fuck's Grado? And I remember going, that's the worst thing ever, man. Never mind having because I always think it's cringy having a tattoo your nickname anyway on you. Never mind a nickname that nobody calls you. Right? So I remember just phoning everybody going, by the way, mate, my new name's Grado, you better start calling me it because I've got it tattooed in my arm. Right? And it did, folk were like, oh, there's Grado. So when I go back to see me before, going, all right, Grado. Right? And then it just kind of...
It stuck for it, mate.
You forced that, mate? I forced it.
That's the way you do it, man. That's the way I'm going to get a tattoo of like the Terminator or something.
And then folk would start, but that's what would happen, folk would start calling you, and then I thought to myself, well, I'm going to start using this as my wrestling name because Grant and Bar. And so I started using Grado on my leotard. I remember he was like, what else can you wear? And I remember going to Boots, bought a bum bag, and I went to the hip hop shop under
Central.
Central, and I got a hat saying Grado stitched onto it. And I just started filming videos about how much I wanted to be in ICW. Then like 2 weeks later, the documentary team were starting following us out with Vice. And I think a lot of wrestlers are quite precious. They don't want, they're like, I'm wanting them, you know, it's this is behind the curtain, we shouldn't would, you know, a lot of people were quite like sceptical about it, but I was like, come to my house if you want, come and meet my mom, come and meet the dog, come on to my room.
This is a framed Mike Austin.
I would take him in my room, I had Triple H posters in my walls, 21. Right?
Bed sheets now, all blood and that.
I was like, come in man, I'm not a loser, let's see, I'm daft for the wrestling.
Aye.
And I think it just translated on that British wrestling, and then British wrestlers came out, and it just ICW, with everybody on it. You know, there was Jester was brilliant in it. There was Dallas was told a great story about how, you know, he came from nothing and he's this promoter. He's a genius, by the way. And then, it just started making waves. And then we done the BBC documentary, and that was it, buffed.
So, they two documentaries basically changed your full life,
100%,
right?
man,
so,
100%.
So after they came out, when did you start noticing, like, fucking, I'm getting... Well, people in Stevenson like, fucking you. But I suppose, does everybody sort of know... Everybody there, or
kinda,
no really?
Aye, kinda.
But after that, did you notice like people are like, here's fucking?
Aye.
Was that weird for you?
Oh, definitely.
Aye.
It was definitely after that documentary. Dallas said in the podcast for you as well, but it was like the very next day. But like the very next day after it had been out, I get like a phone call from Riverside, like right away.
Aye.
And well, what happened was the guy who directed Insane Fight Club, the documentary, he says, stand by your phone, Riverside are going to phone you. I was like, you're joking. He phoned me up and he's like, do you fancy coming on for a couple of episodes? I was like, listen, I don't know like that. He says, oh, you'll be fine, man. Once we get the camera on you, you'll still get to get it off. You'll love it. I was like, tidy. And I was like a couple of months later, he's like, we want to bring you in as a wrestler. I was like, even better. He says, we can't call you Grado. And so I was like, he says, you need to think of a name. So I was like going through all these names, like Dusty, whatever, and I came up with Buster. And then I suddenly I was on the set of River City with like practically no acting experience.
That is mental to deal with, because and for even like us, we start this podcast and then it gets bigger and it's more a sort of gradual feeling, but yours was like, this hangs out, this hangs out, I'm on this, and then your life's totally different for it.
It was, and I always remember like going on set, because like I always thought, I'll be alright acting, man, I'm outgoing and all that, and like how wrong was I? Like, see, like I thought, like, I remember like in the first couple of scenes that I'd done, it was like the way I was acting was like kind of going, like, I'm trying to remember one of the lines that I said, it was like, because my girlfriend was like Leah McRae, and I'm giving it, hiya darling, hiya, fancy watching a rom-com? You know what I mean? Hey, well there better be tartar sauce with that fish tea tonight. Okay, I mean, I thought everything was meant to be hiya, you've added me to Facebook, you bugger. You know what I mean? Like
that disabled guy.
So I kind of had to be. I remember the first time I watched it back, and I went, this is brutal, man. I'm stunning out like I say fun. Hiya, darling.
The big wave. That just ever do that. You know what I mean? But that is like kind of, that sounds a bit panto-y.
Aye,
no, I mean,
100%. It's pure hammy as hell.
Aye.
And I must admit, because like Scots, I didn't start doing Scots, but Scots was improvised, so it is acting, but it was easier for me to do rather than scripted.
Natural.
It was when I went on to, when I started doing 2 Doors Down, and I saw like Johnny, everything's just unique. It's all about once that red light goes, bringing it down, and it's hard to do that when you're a guy that's trying to bring it right down. But again, everything that I've done is just I've always had to learn it, because like even with the wrestling, like as I say, I only wrestled a couple of times a year, and I went for wrestling only a couple of times a year to be booked Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then when it was America, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, like just constant. So you were learning on the job.
Aye, you seen your time in ICW when. Obviously the clips on YouTube are massive, you winning the world title, Mick Foley and that. Who was the first sort of, in your time in ICW, who was the first sort of famous wrestlers you met and you're like, fucking hell?
Oh man, there's been over the years, man, I've been so lucky with all the wrestlers that I've had. I'm trying to think if there was a first one. I suppose Colt Cabana was one of them, but a lot of folk wouldn't have known Colt Cabana, but because I was a heat case for the wrestling, I was obsessed with him. Getting the chance to work with him was amazing. It was like, wow. And then just through the years, there's just like there was Sabu, and then of course there was Foley. But then the sad thing is, you start sort of getting, what's that word I'm looking for? You get desensitized. You get because I remember being in New Orleans at a thing called WrestleCon, right? Where you sit and you sign autographs all day, and it's like there was like Sting was there, D'Lo Brown was there, Kurt Angle was there, and I used to think, man, see if this was like 3 or 4 years ago, I'd have been like, whoa. But it just got to the point I was like, oh,
like the nostalgia.
How you doing, mate? You alright?
It's probably like, I think if you were maybe still like that, if you were still that mad excited, you might not be getting booked to go to WrestleCon and that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's probably because you've came into yourself and you're like, this is where I should be. That's how you get fucking booked for things like that. So you're saying like about being in New Orleans for that? Have you just been all in America for this shit? Well,
I've wrestled in Orlando. It's funny, man, because I just had to get my passport renewed, and I was gutted because I was looking at all the times that I'd been to America and everywhere I'd went. Wherever I've wrestled in New York, New Jersey, Cleveland, Ohio, St. Louis, Missouri, Boston. Oh no, Boston. I was in Boston. Minneapolis, New Orleans. I've been hundreds of places, man. It's the best,
amazing,
best ever. But I used to treat it as a holiday.
Aye.
Like I'm going on my holiday. Like every time I'd get a booking, I'd go to JD Sports and get a new trackie. Like, I'm going on my holidays. I mean, that's what I never ever took it in. It's like I said that all about a Billy podcast. It was like 6 months before I realised I wasn't getting paid in TNA because I was having that much fun.
Who contacted you to go to TNA first? Because obviously you're in ICW, you're getting big in that, and then your popularity, they're like, how did that come?
There's a guy called Jeremy Borash, who's one of my best pals now. They were doing a thing, remember Tough Enough?
Aye.
Right? The TNA were doing their own version called British Boot Camp, and it was like you had to go through the same sort of, it was like a reality show on Challenge TV, and he asked me if I wanted to do it, and I'd done it, and then we'd done the series, I get chucked out, we go to America and all that, it was all like that, and now it was all like, Ken, used to are in the bottom two, Ken, like that kind of reality TV stuff. Aye, like that kind of deal, and I get chucked out it, like, and we were like, I think I was maybe like, I came 4th or 5th or something like that. But we were promised, it was a bit like the X Factor, right? It was like, you were involved in the show, but but if you got so far, you could be on the tour. Right. You did that X Factor, right? So it was kind of like that. So what happened was, I done a reality TV show, but I was in it enough so that I was going to be on the tour. And the tour was Glasgow Hydro, Manchester Evening News Arena, and London Wembley. Right? So, oh my God, I've went for wrestling in Beeve Community Centre, wrestling in all these wee town halls, and I'm going to be on this tour, but I wasn't signed. It's a bit like an X Factor runner-up, like not having a record contract, that type of deal. And so what they done was, the first night was in Glasgow Hydro, and it was me versus Al Snow, and I went out and the place just went bush. Saturday, the next night, Manchester place went bush, Wembley went bush, and then when I get home after the further 3 or 4 days after the tour had finished, all the Yanks went back to America, and I went back home. They phoned me up. Jeremy Boras said, "What's your phone again?" It says, "TNA are going to offer you a contract." So TNA phoned me up and says, "Hey, you ready to move to America?" I went, "Yes." But in the back of my mind, I was going, "Am I?" Because I had a right good job at the fire brigade. I didn't know if I wanted to leave the fire brigade, because, and at the time, my mum and dad, they still thought this wrestling was a pile of, you know, they were like, you know, you've got a good job in the fire brigade, that's a good pension, kind of that kind of carry on, right?
Safety, aye.
So they're going, "You want to move to America?" And I'm going, "Yes." And then I thought, I don't know if I can do this. I think the deal was like $1,400 a month, right? And and per match I would get like $500, but it wasn't guaranteed that you would get a match. So you could walk away 40. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do here? So I then went to I tell my mum and that, she's going, "Nah, there's come on, don't be so silly." Kind of that kind of carry on. And I says, "Well, here's the crack, right?" I put it to TNA. I says, "What about this?" I says, "What about you take that $1,400 a month, right, that you're going to pay me, and if you need me to wrestle, take that $1,400 and put it towards my transport to get me out to America." Right? And then I'll just get paid
your bonus, the
$500 per match. And they went, "Hold on, we'll come back." And then they went, "Do you know what? We'll just give you the $1,400 a month, and we'll fly you." I was like, "Tidy." So they're just going to fly me whenever they need me. So they started using me. I went out once, I went out twice, I went out 3 times, and there was like a big money hanging. TNA folk were not getting paid. And Ken Anderson's like, "Mr. Kennedy," he's like, "Are you having any issues with your money?" And I went, "I've not been paid once."
How long?
You just get paid for this?
How long?
You know what I mean?
So how long did that go on for before you said
like 6 months? I was like, because I was just too busy. I was like, "Oh, they'll come any day." Do you know what I mean?
Was he like a mad locker room leader guy? I'll go down and check.
And he was disgusted that I hadn't been paid, but I was like, "Don't say anything." Don't say anything, by the way. Look at me. I know.
It's mad you still had that mindset and you're still going there and that. Mate, it's mad because I was like watching, because I watched TNA when I was younger, right? Mind Abyss was fucking drinking 2 hours of thumbtacks and all that. He's mental, mate, right? That's when I watched it, when like Kurt Angle went there and he was just doing front flips off cages and that. He was out his nut and that. But then you were there kind of after that. Now there's a man that I want to talk to you about, right? And this might blow your mind a bit. There's a man called James E. Cornette, right? Now,
Jim Cornette.
Right, so I listen to Jim Cornette's podcast every week, both of them, right? So, 1 week, right? Now, Jim Cornette, you might love Jim Cornette, right? Everything you do, that's exactly what he hates, right? So... he's on, and I don't know, you came up and like, something like, "Grado, blah, blah, blah." Did you meet him? You were in
I've met him a couple of times,
right? So, and then he's like, the next week's like, "Grado's fucking wrote in."
I didn't read it out, man. I was mortified.
Because he was, and then he was like, "Oh, you know, he's a good guy," and that.
So I was surprised that because he, what I do in the wrestling. So for you, right? I'm a comedy wrestler, right?
Okay.
And there's some tradition wrestlers that hate what I do.
Right.
I don't look like a wrestler.
Like purists and that.
Right. Everything a wrestler shouldn't be. I should be the other side of the guardrail. That's what, you know what I mean? But that was my gimmick, like a guy that got lucky that climbed the guardrail and wrestled, whatever. Jim Cornette's a pure hardcore, like, no bullshit comedy, you know, he's just no into it. And what was it they were talking about, the top 5 comedy wrestlers? Top 50 comedy, I think I was like 9th, somebody said something like that. What was I talking about there, by the way?
Hey, Jim Cornette.
You messaged him.
So I messaged him, but because...
he said something, but...
Because I met him, because I remember one time I feuded with Abyss, right? And they told me, you name your bullshit. You can't be funny here. This is like, because the storyline was that this guy was holding my US visa, and if I didn't get my US visa back, I was going to get deported back to Scotland, right? That was the story. That was the storyline. That was the storyline, mate. It was amazing, right? The storyline was Abyss was my talent agency manager, right? And what he was trying to get was we had to show proof that Grado was earning money in America. So the storyline was that he was my manager. So he was making me go to all these wrestling shows, and we filmed me going all over the country. But at the end of the day, he was taking the money. He was taking all the money that I earned. So I'd go, Abyss,
that real life.
So the storyline was, I was like, Abyss, I'm skint. What's the crack with it? And he's like, woo, woo. He said, I'm over all these birds and all that. Right? He's like, I've just been to Louis Vuitton, brother. You know what I mean? He's been taking all my money. So then it came to a heat where I had to call him out,
and you attacked angry
I had
and
to
shit.
be like that. And I remember doing it and coming backstage and like seeing Jim Cornette. He'd been watching it in the monitor, and I remember going, I need to go and see what he thought of that. You know what I mean? And I remember going up to him and I went, oh, hey Jim. I was like, hey. I'm like, so that's the first time I've ever cut a serious promo. And he went, no, I goes, I've never cut a serious promo like that before. And he went, you still haven't cut a fucking serious promo. He hated it. He hated it.
And were you 100% nae jokes, like straight down the line?
Aye.
Were you?
But it was brutal. And then the match that I had with Abyss was the worst match in history. It was live on pay-per-view, and it killed me, man. It killed me because what the deal was, Abyss was the he was the kind of road agent producer, so it was a hardcore match, right? And I had to up my game and stuff like that. So I would always come out with a leotard, whatever. But I thought Mick Foley gave me his Foley flannel. Aye. So I wore to the ring to wrestle in this match my Foley flannel and these pair of Primark jeans. Right, they were far too wee for me. And I couldn't move in the match. I thought I was because when you try and get it to be like a lumberjack, right? When you hardcore, you flannel, right? And so these Primark jeans, mate. You want to see Nick and me trying to climb up the top rope on pure can't because he's Primark jeans, right? No. Live on pay-per-view, mate, right? The best it was, I never got to talk to Abyss until like 2 minutes before the match. So you need like, see when you're having a big match like that, you've really got to spend a lot of time with the guy to go right. We'll do this and we'll do that. We'll do this or that. But every time I wanted to speak to him about the match, he was always busy. So literally we only had like 5 minutes. We went out, mate, and we stank the place out live on pay-per-view. And we came back and the bus was like, way to go, buddy, and I love that. And I was like, really? And he was like, man, what is it? And then he texts me at like 4 in the morning going, hey dude, just read the reports in this match. They fucking hated it, dude. I'm sorry. We suck.
Mate, see when you're in the ring and you can feel when it's gone well, obviously, but can you really feel when it's no gone well?
That's the worst,
Can
mate.
you just tell?
You just feel like you're in the ring with your boss out. Like, literally, like you feel just so overexposed. And I remember coming back and there was a documentary team that were following it, and I thought this is going to be the worst footage because I literally was so upset. And I got EC3, right? He was like the champ at the time, and he went, hey, Grado, all my buddies are watching that. They just said it was the worst match in pay-per-view history. And I'm like, that day I was gutted, man. I was gutted.
And you're not getting paid.
He's just a way back to Louis Vuitton. Mate, can I ask something? You had a wee throwaway comment that intrigued me so much, and I didn't want to interrupt you. But who's he drinking thumbtacks? What was that?
Pull up Abyss hardcore.
Did he do that?
No, he didn't drink them, but he used to fucking. He would just. He was like a pure hardcore. Like every match he was in, because. I think when you were there,
it was a Monsters Balls match. He
didn't have the mask on that, but didn't he know when you were there, or did he? Was that when he was trying? He was split personality thing. So, guys, are you hungry? I am. Actually, I'm not because I just had a Molly meal. Molly's meal preps. Look, they've been here for a while, and look, I think Molly will be cooking for me maybe till the day I die. Every single week since Molly's sponsored this podcast, I have eaten one of her meals for my lunch. 5 days a week trips. So, and I'm not bored of them yet. And actually, you know, if you've not heard, she's a meal prep service based in Glasgow and the sort of surrounding areas, yeah. You can get it delivered, you can go and collect it from Performance 22, which is a gym in Milton. She changes the menu every single month. Everything, there's a wee label in the front of every meal to tell you, you know, your breakdowns, your fats, your protein, your carbs, stuff like that. Now, she's got a new menu out for April. I haven't seen it yet. You haven't seen it. So we're going to reveal it live. Now, I'm excited, troops. Molly mixes it up. She does like to bring stuff back. She also likes to get rid of some stuff. And here we go, troops. So, this is the menu for April. Chinese style chicken curry, fantastic. Pardon me. Crispy teriyaki chicken with fried rice. We've not had that yet, and I will be ordering that. That is very exciting for me. Meatballs and rigatoni in tomato sugo. Bellissimo. Beef chili. Sweet chili prawns with garlic potatoes and veg, and a veg chili. So, does that not sound fantastic? She also has high protein meals on all those options as well. So, basically, she just puts a bit more in it. And that's just how protein and that works, not what I mean, trips. But, look, you know Reilly's Gaff. We don't just fling something at you and go, go in it. We get you deals, baby. So, when you're ordering, the way to order with Molly is go on her Instagram. It's at Molly's Meal Preps. That's at Molly's Meal Preps. Have a wee look at the menu, then message her. That's how you order. And when you message, you need to order a minimum of 5 meals. And in that first order, she's going to fling in two of the breakfast items absolutely free. So all you need to say is when you're ordering, just say, this is my order and I seen you on Reilly's Gaff. And then just maybe put the 2 breakfast items that you want below that. The breakfast items for April are the Biscoff overnight oats, the Nutella overnight oats, the ham and cheese egg muffins, and a healthy fry-up. So you get 4 options to pick from, and they're going to be absolutely free on us, Droop. So go get in touch with Molly and stay in shape because summer's coming up and you don't want to be a fatty, do you?
What do you do? Do you stay with him?
No, I'm a big boy.
Are you? Do you stay yourself?
No, I stay with my bud.
What do you do for a job?
Working at an engineering place.
Oh, you got a job then? And you got a good job as well?
Civil engineering, that.
Fucking hell. Did you ever get worried about your jobs or what you say in the podcast and stuff?
No, mate. See, if I get
sacked, if I get sacked from my job, the way the mindset is with us is like this is what we want. So if we ever say something, we get sacked. Fine, on to the next job.
You go do it.
Like this is what we want to do.
I would do odd jobs while still doing this. Definitely, I'd like do anything as long as we can keep doing this because we've got a mad mindset that we think like we are going to be doing this full time at one point. So
mate, that's the way I was, but that's why I mean, that was me with my fire brigade. I was like, when it comes to the bit, and I always remember having to get up, and I was like, well, if this is what, because my thing was, Jeremy, what I said, as long as you've got a full time job, technically you're still a mark up on her, right? You're still a punter, and I went. And it always is in the back of my mind. And I went, well, I need to go for... So when I left the fire brigade, it was like a mega fucking release.
Aye.
Because I was like, well, I need to do it now.
It's a risk, but it's like...
It's a risk, man.
For you're a mad prime example of it being worth it, innit?
Aye. I always think, like...
Are we doing here? Because I think this is alright chat.
Good, keep it in. I always... Aye, we'll go back on it after this, but just we'll continue this, because I always think, like... know how... I would rather try and do this and... work jobs here and there my full life and never get to it than never try and do it, because I'm like, you get one shot at life, right? Heavy cheesy, but you get one shot, right? And it's like, I don't want to just have this normal life. Like, then, I got a job and I go there and I can be, we're going on holiday in 3 months, brilliant. Like, I want a life that's like every day is like, what are we doing today? Do you know what I mean?
And that kind of, when you get put in that situation where you're like, because obviously when I left the fire brigade, it was like, right, well, I can't sit about and pick my arse. Like, I need to work for this. And you do, it's like, once that's, you've gave that up, it kind of enforces you to go, I need to make this work. This needs to work, and I need to do everything that I can to try and make sure that it's going to be successful. When you've always got something to lay back on, you don't always take the risk that you're going to. I'm not telling you to get up your road.
See, what we say is always like, so the new, it's obviously a lot harder for us to film stuff and that because our time's consumed with other things, right? So we're like, fuck, can't I wait till like the day where this is all we need to do? But then I always think to myself, it's kind of like what you said there, where, right, the day that day comes, alright, now you've got all this freedom, but everything's on this one thing now. So it's like the pressure to make that one thing work, rather than going, we could come up here and do a podcast and be like, oh, was that one shite? Oh well, still got to get a wage. But once you quit that, it's like, no, it needs to work, so it's an added pressure in it.
Well, because I suppose that was a bit like me when I had other stuff, like even if it came to wee things like cutting a promo and doing a promo for like a wrestling company, like I would go, I'm not putting that out unless I know it's 100% it needs to be good, because you've always got that thing, you're only as good as what you were last seen and doing. You know, that kind of thing, because that's the lasting memory that folk always, you want to always keep doing the best thing, but sometimes you end up doing stuff that you've got to, it's financially it's maybe better for you than it is like career wise. But you've got to have you need to. It's a difficult one, but you're lucky that you've got such a job that you can do two at the one time. But there's plenty of things that you can do, man. Because the way the world is now, it's not the telly, man. Some folk will probably want the telly. There's loads of folk that don't need the telly.
I mean, I always say
it's like there's money in like so many different things. If you two wanted to do, I mean, I'm just a cooking show or something. Do you know what I mean? I know that sounds daft.
I know. No, the thing is now we can just make that and put it on YouTube. Whereas back in the day, you know what I mean? Like you had to bank on somebody noticing you. And like there was mad gatekeepers where they were like, right, I like you. Like even if you're talented, they might go, man, I don't like you. But you know what I mean? But whereas now it's like. It's a free game, innit?
And it's just that, and we always talk, like we were talking on the phone, you're funny you saying about a cooking show, like we were talking about like mad, like coming up to like the summer doing like branching it on our Patreon. So we've got a Patreon that we put exclusive content on it, and I was saying like, oh, we could do this, we could do that, and it's every time we talk about just a mad kind of outside of the box thing, always ends up like 5 ideas come out like that, do you know what I mean? And it is just more about the time to be able to kind of
to actually do it,
because we've got all the ideas, and it's just kind of, and resources are a wee bit. You know what I mean?
Do you use TikTok?
Aye.
Oh, we TikTok.
Yeah, I missed the ball. That's the one thing I don't do.
He's on that
TikTok shit. Like, I think fair play to folk that have made a career or can make money out of that, man. I mean, I really, really do. I remember during lockdown going, should I do it? Should I know? Should I do it? And I kind of regret it, man. I feel as if I've missed the boat with it, because I'd love to be able to get.
You've no, but you can still time it.
Like,
because it's like the biggest thing now. Like,
think about music, right? Think about chart music. Whatever's number one is like what's the song that's on TikTok, and like. Artists that are on labels are like, no, this song needs to be something that can be put on a TikTok. It's like it shifted the whole world, John. But it's even like I done like comedy sketches and that's how I ended up with this podcast, right? Like just wee videos on my Instagram and then put them on TikTok, and it got a bit bigger. And then G4 came to me and was like, we're building a studio.
Is that right?
Do you want to do a podcast in here? Because they were like, you've got a following already. Do you want to do it, sort of thing? And but even at that, like, it's weird though, because you reach a stage when you're doing that where companies are like, right, there's eyes on you now, want to do an ad for this, want to do an ad for that, but you reach a point where you're like trying to do an ad for like fucking, I don't know, like, I remember trying to do one for, was it a Sweetie shop or something? I'm trying to make this sketch and I felt pure dirty doing it, do you know what I mean?
Mate.
Do you ever do things and feel like a dirty man?
One man. Aye. There's like, but it comes to that thing where it's like, well, I've got to do it, because no, that I've got to do it, but again, it comes for you need to pay bills now. I need to pay bills. And it's like when I left the fire brigade, I had to, like, I was a martyr. I was taking everything, radio adverts and blah blah blah. I might have not been the best pleased with it, but it's sometimes what you've got to do. It's a difficult one. It totally is a difficult one, because here's the deal: everybody thinks that telly's not got the best money in it. It really, really hasn't. Back in the 90s, man, when it was Barrymore and Saturday Night, and there was only 5 channels. So all the money was put into the 5 channels. Now there's like 400. There's so many streaming, so that there's no the money that it once was.
It switched.
Sorry, mate. I see, like, know how our mutual friend James Bennett, my boss now, he was talking to me, and I was saying something about it was just some mad opportunity we had, and it was like we were saying like, oh, blah blah, and I was talking to him about it, and he said something about how he was watching something, and it was talking about how early in your career, he's like, every £100 that you turn down turns into 10 grand, and like in these years, do you know what I mean? Like, see if you save yourself for like no like whoring yourself out, but do you know how when you see like somebody come out of Love Island and it's like signed with Boohoo Man and they're doing KFC adverts or like no that, but like whatever, and it's just like anything they can get, like geez it fucking
immediately,
quick. And he was kind of.
But see how it's funny you mentioned about Love Island. I think I must be one of the skate, because the likes of these Love Island folk that come out and there's a buzz about them and they're on the internet and they're getting to open up nightclubs and all that. Then the next series of Love Island comes on.
And you're like, who?
They're gone, man.
And they're chip paper. And it's like that is I can understand why mental health and that gets affected with the likes of that. Love it, not because of what happens content wise on Love Island, but it's the stuff that happens after it.
Because it's normal people getting, like we were saying about your exposure just gone for like 0 to 100 in a day, but then it's like people that have gone on that and then they're coming home for this mad thing that they've been in a mad bubble for 6 weeks, and they're coming home and coming off the flight and there's fans and that, and they're like,
everybody in the country knows them.
Intoxicating. And then when that goes away, that's fucking...
Eventually the fans stop chanting your name and you've got to deal with it. I always remember feeling dead sorry for the guy that fought on Love Island. Remember it was in Africa in 2020, but then a couple of weeks later went into lockdown. So they missed all the nightclub thingies, like all the pay-off for going to nightclubs and opening places, stuff like that. And then eventually it was like the next series of Love Island, and then that was it. That was them.
And it's like, as well, it's like how personally you deal with that. It's a massive high coming out that you're like, I'm on the telly, everybody in the UK knows me, and then it's almost like you say immediately, no cunt cares anymore.
There's some people like see like that India that was on it. She's like on everything now, and she's very clever.
It's like the last 6 in it are probably alright after that. Like you see them pure, I'm opening up the fucking new bakers in Bromley, and it's like, alright,
I remember opening a pet shop in East Kilbride. A pet shop in East Kilbride, me and Jester. And it was like,
how many people came to it?
That was about 30, good 30, 40.
That's alright.
Could turn it.
For a pet shop,
and I remember, man, they were like, can you get a photo Grado with a snake? And I was like, alright. And I remember like, this big massive snake, and they put it around my neck, right? And this thing was like that on my neck, and there was like wee boys and lassies like for the scheme that had just found out that this, and so they were like without their mums and dads, came out like just pure wild, right? And they were coming up, and I remember this snake was on my neck, right? And it was lying like that, just neighbour at all, no boy. And this wee lassie come up and started clapping it, and he'd gone, "Hiya, Shan," to the snake, and the snake went. Like that. I went, get this fucking off me, get this fucking off me. Honestly, started clapping and it went, and it all tensed up. I think we done, man. I was like, get this off me.
Starts constricting.
Good for a Vine, but remember Vine?
Vine was fucking class.
Jester, it was started off with Jester. He's like, Grado, mate, what's that in your neck? And I'm like,
Vine was actually the first sort of version of TikTok almost.
I wonder if I don't think TikTok. I think it's went too big. Vine was never as big as TikTok is.
No. TikTok is just, I can't get over how big TikTok is, and I'm always like, what am I doing, man? Should I be on that? Should I be putting stuff like maybe all clips, all wrestling stories, or you know what I mean, stuff like that?
Know what the thing is, but and I'm not saying this would be you at all because you're a lot more switched on than this, but see, Ford Kiernan, obviously legend, right, in Scotland. He's on TikTok, and I watch his TikToks, and I'm like, mate, what are you doing?
What are they like?
What is it? Like, it's like him with glasses on. I'm like, oh, mate, like, just, you've like. That was your thing, mate.
Well, that's the thing, and I was at risk of like people maybe watch me in 2 doors down and stuff like that, and like the cut of my jib, and then if I put up a dodgy TikTok, they're like, dafty.
Right, talking about adverts, have you ever turned something down? Because it was obviously you've turned things down, but like, can you remember something that you'd want to talk about that was like, am I fucked doing that? Because you did do a pet shop in East Kilbride, to be fair. So
there's been you do get mad offers. I remember getting asked today, would you call that? Just with the thing with the Judge Judy, the UK version
Judge
of that.
Rinder?
Judge Rinder. No, I had to kid on that Dallas hadn't paid me.
What, on the show? Like an episode? Did you say no to that?
I said no.
Mate, that would have been good. That would have been funny, but
I was just like, come on, man.
Is that? I think I get like the feeling that you don't like mad fake like that. Like you were saying earlier on about mad forced comedy and that. Is that, do you know, really like
well,
that?
I feel as if I'm better with like, so like see like documentary style stuff. I love that. I love when folk follow me about. I actually had a guy earlier this week, we're working on filming a wee bits and bobs, and it was just like, because we're doing a week and a bit like how I don't want to say too much, man, because hold on, fuck it. It was all about like how my coping life after wrestling, whether I go back to wrestling, and I loved they were in my house and all that, and it was just the banter I was having. We ended up going round to my father's house and stuff like that. I had a wee bit of banter with my father, and I felt it's mere cut. See when something's real, I kind of it's a lot about documentary style because you can bounce off a bit. Because I tell that story and painting 2 shots all day, but it was like the camera guy was like sitting me and my dad. My dad's a very awkward man, right? He's like he doesn't say too much, and we're sitting there and like the guy was kind of going, so how do you feel about wrestling? That because my dad's just moved for the family house to a wee place in Pennyburn, so he's known the house that he was with my mum. My mum's passed away a good couple of years, and he was just kind of like sitting dead awkward and going, I'm in this wee new house myself, and I miss my wife. Do you like my golden retriever, son? But just the way it just came out of nowhere, right? And then that led to me and my dad having a bit of banter, and I was going, this is brilliant because it's real, and it was just, I was like, I want this to get out.
I feel like stuff's gone that way now. Like, there's a thing on YouTube that we love, it's called Channel 5, and it's like, it's not actual Channel 5 as in the UK one, it's a guy called Andrew Callahan, and he's in America, right, and he's a journalist, but he goes about and like, he'll go to a Trump rally or something, right, and just walk about and
does he noise him up?
He doesn't even know, he's like, he basically just says like, what's on your mind today, and like they just go run, like, because obviously, and he'll go to like rap festivals, and like, it's just but it's all real folk. It's no skit.
That's the best stuff, man.
And it's like, I feel like people are more intrigued by that, because I don't know if it's just because obviously acting with comedy that will never go away, but I feel like people are more intrigued now with like real people that are actually just funny naturally. You know what I mean? Like
well, it's listening to like podcasts. Me now want to listen to just folk talk. I mean, you sit and you listen to Lisa, like it's like Joey Diaz, right? I listen to him. He's not necessarily saying anything very funny or telling jokes, but it's just the way he's going on and talking, and he's being funny, and I would rather sit and listen to that than sit and watch, because my attention span's terrible. I can't sit and watch a documentary, let's see any series on Netflix and stuff like that. I can't do it. I don't have a programme where I sit and watch at night, and I hate that. Like, you can't, I spend most of my time going through stuff. I look it up on IMDb, 6.7 shite. I can't stick to it. I need to be watching. YouTube's my thing now.
I'm the exact same,
YouTube, man. That's all I watch.
I was thinking about,
I want to know about like what happens if fuel runs out of the Atlantic Ocean in the 747. I'll sit and watch that.
Mate, I watched something called The End of Oil like yesterday, mate, and it was a mad documentary on YouTube that was just, it was like something that if it was on Netflix I probably wouldn't watch it, but see, because it's presented in this mad low-key way, it's like
underground, and I've done, and I know I like watching, I know I see like this, you ever seen that JCS, the Criminal Minds thing?
Jim Can't Swim? Oh, baby.
Is that what it is? And
he's like, and at this point in the interrogation, the officer,
mate, I could watch that.
You know what Jim Can't Swim?
It's just like, it's just,
what's that?
It's like,
no, I was pointing
it's just like guys getting it's just like guys getting it's like footage of people getting interrogated for murder and stuff like that, but there's a guy commentating on it, and it's just the best.
Like, and he knows, and he's like, you'll notice here though, like, so like, it'll be him breaking down what the officers like techniques are for how they're getting it out of him, and they'll be like, notice how they're silent here, that's because they can notice that he's about to say something, and that it's so interesting.
Watch his right hand and all that's like,
mate, you've told me about that before.
It's
actually
so good.
But I would rather watch that, and like I used to love documentaries, right? And I'm not saying I don't like them anymore, but like when I watch a Netflix documentary, I'm like 6 episodes, I'm like, and it can you watch the 6 episodes and you go, that could have been done in an hour.
Netflix
that could have been done
in the end of every episode at like exactly what you were waiting for, and you're like, oh what, need to watch the next one.
Do you know, there was a joke in Always Sunny in Philadelphia that they were doing like a making of Murderer about Dennis. Have you seen that programme? No?
What?
Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I've watched the first couple episodes. I need to get back in it. Jessa loves it.
So there's this the guy Dennis is like a mad psycho in it, mate, to be right, like, but it's like they'll just say things that are like pure creeped out by sometimes. So the day an episode that's meant to be like making a murder on, he's killed his ex-wife, right? And but they're purely, it's shot that way, and he's like, am I a person of interest? Yes, I am an interesting person. And kind of jokes, right? But there's a mad bit in it at the end that it turns out that this documentary was made by his 2 pals, like Mac and Charlie. And at the end, they're going, yeah, we can make this 10 episodes. The families will hate our guts. He's like, we'll make everybody feel fucking horrible for like 20 hours, and then it will just be the same conclusion that everybody thought at the start.
That is what they do. The only one where I sat and I watched it for like 14 episodes, and I went, that'd have been alright, was the series Staircase.
Oh, that's
but
brilliant.
What I know was making me enjoy it even more. This is so stupid, but it was the fact that it was letting you watch them eat. I was sitting watching it, and the lawyers were sitting eating Subways every day and eating soup and Diet Cokes. I was sitting watching it, I was going like, I want a can of Diet Coke. I was like pausing it, jumping to the garage and buying cans of Coke, and then come back and then going, and he was eating all these mad pieces and like fancy pieces, and I'm going, I fancy making a piece. And that's all it was for like 14 episodes, and I'm like, that's weird how my brain was doing that.
You're subliminally, mate.
See how you were talking about your dad in that documentary? Was he wearing his first bus jacket?
Oh my God, did you know? Have I spoken about that somewhere?
No, you don't worry, mate. I'm doing it all, mate. Don't worry.
Well, we need to get him. Right, we need to get the video. I need to get it to Paradise because this is brilliant. So, I done an advert for First Bus, right? And so I had to dress like a first bus driver.
Telly?
No, it was on YouTube.
On YouTube, right?
It was like a Grado gets a job as a bus driver. Right? It was actually alright, man. And so they gave me the uniform and stuff like that. And then after that, I went to see my dad. Man, my dad was in the house himself and stuff like that. Right, he doesn't do much and stuff. And I thought to myself, I'll send you the video, right, Jamie? I like hang with that's the thing with the gimmick there. But I went, you want this jacket, Dad? He was like, you think a jacket? Oh, that's a cracker. Oh, let's see that, right? So he's fucking, I've got a video, I'm like, oh, hang with up. And we're trying on, going, oh, that's a cracker. Mate, he wears it every day, man. And do you want to know what the best it is? He says he gets on the buses for nothing. He turns out the bus and he's like, how you doing, mate? And the guy's like, and you get.
That's fucking class. Good on him.
So this is when I gave my father. He was all delighted, man. Look how.
Rangers tap on and all.
Look at his face, watch. No, I'm all right. That's your Christmas, Dad.
Oh, that needs to be done now.
That's in the pie, man.
How about keep it eye?
I love how he's doing that. Feeling the quality.
That shell suit, aye.
Brilliant.
Oh, well, Morrison's.
That's
so
by the
funny.
way, Stevenson Morrison's a good tune. It's a good Morrison's, by the way.
It's a good
aye.
Morrison's. Oh, well. I know, it's a good Morrison's, aye. How you been in there plenty times?
Yeah, I've been in there quite
been
a lot.
everywhere.
I'm a Stevenson. I'm an advocate, mate. I like
just because you've been
just that I go to different sites and that and pass through, and I always stop at a Morrison's. I like Morrison's. That's probably. What's your favourite supermarket? What's your favourite supermarket?
Oh, that part! What's my favourite? Right, hold on. What's my favourite? Probably, it depends what you're going for, man. Back in the day when DVDs were out and stuff like that, I liked going to 24 or Tesco and just looking at the DVDs, but that's changed days now, innit?
Do you know the Tesco at my bit's got a sunbeds,
what?
A photo framing shop, an opticians, and a Subway.
All inside it.
What one's that, man?
It's the Springburn, St. Rollick's.
What was that? I
You
was in
got
a
a counter
Tesco.
for that? You got...
Well, my Aldi, what does my Aldi? My Aldi sells fucking canoes.
Mate, I know, but I've always just been I hate Asda. I hate Asda. I think Asda.
No, see, my missus is an Asda person. The good thing I'll say about Asda is if you do online shopping, there's always a slot. There's always a slot with Asda. Morrison's have started doing Amazon. Have you noticed that? You can do it now, and it comes within a couple of hours. However, you're paying about 30% more, so don't get started, man. No, is it, Nick? Because I tell you, there's a few times I've been paying like £7 for Galloway cheese. Oh, like, what am I doing, man? But it's because I'm a lazy fat bastard.
And you got your money off. Who was it that was stealing your money? Abyss. Finally, you get that check in the door.
Abyss, you need to sort this out, man. The Galloway cheese on is like 7 quid. Can you believe it?
He's a great guy, man. He's now in the WWE. He's a producer now. So
I've heard he's a really nice guy, like
lovely guy, man.
See, just obviously you're saying he's nice. I wanted to know, like, obviously you say Jim Cornette, that style. There must be wrestlers you met that were like,
Dafty.
No? Aye, were they? I take it a lot of them.
Low key. My very first match.
You know that with everybody, but
aye, but I don't think he's made folk more or less greet in a toilet and try and book a flight home, because that's the way I was, man. It was my first match in America on live TV, mate. Live TV, and I was wrestling Low Key, who is like a martial arts expert. I was like a total like genre mix of hanging. Like, how was this going to work? But I'd watched them for years, right? And I remember turning up, and I thought, right, and I could see him, and he wouldn't look the road I was on. We're in the canteen. They kind of the bit where we get fed. He was still in his ovies, right? And it was like I could just tell that he didn't want to wrestle me. And I remember going up to him and I went, because you need to like spark a relationship to come up with a match. So the match was in the first match on the show, 7 o'clock, going to be on live TV, right? So I'm biffing it. It's now like 5 o'clock. He's not approached me. We've got 2 hours to come up with this match because you need to go through producers that go, that's a good idea for the match. So at 5 o'clock, man, I says to him, I eventually put the cards and I'm going, ooh. And I was like, ooh, I quite liked your match in 2001 against Xavier in Elks Lodge in New York. I've got that in video. Right, thinking to impress him. And he went, listen, I'll beat the fuck out of you, either in the ring or outside the ring. And walked away. Right, and I went, what am I going to do, man? I'm wrestling, right? And I legit sat in the toilet, right, and looked up flights for Orlando to go back to Glasgow. I mean, man, I can't do this, man. He's going to kill me on live TV. That's the way I felt. God, and I was like, oh my God, a flight, £150. I was like, I might book that. Then I realised it was for the following month, right? I was like, oh, right, good, right, so big go. So eventually, Hurricane Helms, right? Stand back. There's a hurricane coming through. I told him and he went, come here. He went, I'll deal with it. So he went up to me and went, look, GRADO'S brand new. He says, he's a comedy character. You what with me, blah, blah, blah. So he kind of went, well, if Hurricane Helms says you're all right, I'll give you time. But this kind of rifled through all the boys. None of the boys loved me, right? They did. They just had a lot of time for me. And they were all, every one of them was coming to me going, I'll give you $50 if you break his fucking nose. Right? I'll give you $100, and everybody's going, fucking bust him, right? They were all going, punch his nose, right? I'm going, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I get that. So eventually, we had the match. 15 minutes to go, by the way, before I'm on live TV in one of my first live matches in America, and we done it. The match was brilliant. He came back and he shook my hand and was like, he saved your ass. Hurricane Helm saved your ass. Then the MVP came up and went, you need to buy him a drink tonight at the bar because he totally saved your ass. So we ended up going to a bar, right? And Hurricane Helms went, I've saved your ass so much. He says, I want to buy you everybody. I want you to buy everybody in this bar a drink. I went, do you know what? I'll do it. Right? So I'm biffing it. But anyway, I ended up getting distracted. I'm not going to tell you how, right? I can't, right? But I went away for a couple of hours, then I come back, right? And the bar was shut. And I hadn't bought any of these wrestlers' drinks. So the next day, because it was continuous, right? It was TV tapings day after day after day. So the next day I turned up and everybody was going, whoa, you've got heat, brother. You've got nuclear heat. And it got to the point where they done this thing called Wrestlers' Court, right? Have you heard the story?
I've heard of that.
So Wrestlers' Court is if there's a problem with the boys, the wrestlers deal with themselves. And so what happened was, they called it for 4 o'clock, and what that meant was anybody that's a producer, backstage, anybody that's not a wrestler needs to get out of Dodge until they deal with this problem. And it's legit, by the way. So I turned up and I had to get myself a defence lawyer.
An attorney.
An attorney. There was a bailiff. There was like a sheriff, not a sheriff, what do you call it? A judge, right? I can't in American terms, but there was like 6 or 7. Kurt Angle was the judge, right? Kurt Angle was the judge. Brodus Clay was the bailiff. Tommy Dreamer was the prosecution, right? Had all this. And all the boys are watching this, and I had to explain myself. And the guy that was representing me was Spud, who's another wee kind of funny guy, and he made that, he tried to be funny, and he fell on his arse, right? I was like, right, he kind of stood up and went, my client, the reason for him is because he's fat. And everybody's going, right. The prosecution, crickets, man, right? And so eventually they found me guilty, right? And I had to buy the bailiff a bottle of Jack Daniels, somebody a bottle of Jack Daniels, blah, blah, blah. But my big forfeit was that I had to day my entrance in my pants, right, in front of the boys, right? Now, they're telling me this. Inside, I'm going, yeah, fucking dancer, this will be class, right? You know what I mean?
You're practicing your granny's bit.
I've been waiting for years for this moment, right? So I'm going, I'm so embarrassed. I was like, I'm raging, man. I was like, do I really need to do this, right? So I went backstage. Now, this is with the Titantron, the ring, all that, all the lights. And then, life is, and I'm doing my pants, and I come out, right, and I'm going, when you come on, right? The best it was, all the boys all rushed into the front, they're all putting their hands out as if they're fans, and I'm going, can I go stick these on it? And I'm going, well, see, after that, I was a made man. Like, everybody came up to me going, respect, brother.
That was your initiation.
That was my, they were going, respect, brother. And see, after that, everybody looked toward me. Like, everybody was like...
How weird is wrestling for that? It is like a mafia.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I got it lucky. It was more a kind of joke one, but there has been times, you know, if somebody's had their wallet stolen or somebody stole painkillers or something like that, there's been wrestlers caught, and some folk have never, like, recovered for it. It's like a big thing. But for me, it totally made me, man. It's one of my best stories. I love it, man. I love it.
See, on the flip side of that, obviously, low-key was a dick, but
But then I met him months later, man. He was totally brand new. Do you know what I mean?
Aye. But seeing the flip side of that, who's people you met, even like big wrestlers, like, he's sound as fuck, man. I love him, man. I seen you in the ring with Jeff Jarrett, and he was saying you played video games with his son and that.
He was the best, man. Jeff Jarrett totally, like... He learned me so much, and the good thing was he ended up coming back to TNA as the boss, and I ended up, like, when I was wrestling in America, if I could, because see how to go to America, it's maybe only like $50 to get a flight somewhere. So I'd go, I've got a couple of days left, I'll go to like Nashville and meet JB and go to his house and have a barbecue and all that. He's got a big mansion and hang about with him. So Jeff Jarrett's probably one of them. He's probably the main one. Jeremy Borash. There's loads, man. They really... Did
they surprise you? Did they let you think, he's like, say the word, is it a heel in it? Like,
a bad guy.
If he's a bad guy on the telly and you've seen this for ages, and then you're like, when you meet me, like, this guy's amazing.
I mean, I suppose... I'm trying to think if there's it, because everybody has me nice. I'm trying to think if there's anybody that's been like crab at me. I suppose the only guy that was quite kind of crab at me was Vader. Remember Big Vader?
Aye.
He, because I remember we were wrestling our 2 nights. The Friday night we were in like Command Grand Hall, and the Saturday night we were in East Kilbride Ballarat Hall. And then on the Friday night, man, he was my tag team partner, and I was in the ring doing all my comedy stuff, and I could hear him on the ring apron going, "This is good shit, this is good shit, keep going, brother, keep going," right? And he came back and he went, "You're the man, brother, you're the man." And then the next day, right, he was wrestling this other guy, and he went like, "Hey buddy, you gotta be better than that bullshit last night, man. What a crock of shit that was." I'm standing right next to him going, "If you're kidding, I can't hear him." And then see, like a year later, it was WrestleMania weekend, and I met him on the lift, and I shook his hand, and I went, "You don't remember me?" And he went, "No."
Mate, do you know?
You didn't remember me?
No. See, people say he fucking stank in the ring.
Oh,
right?
mate, he was...
Was there other guys... Was there guys that are not maybe farting constantly? Nah,
I tell you one thing, none of the Yanks ever smell. It's all just British wrestlers that I've ever been kind of hanging at. And you've got to tell them, but you've got to go,
you're
deodorant, that, brush your teeth, mouthwash and stuff like that. Because that's a big thing, man. I mean, there's been times where I go back to times I think I remember wrestling a guy who was quite smelly, fake tan and all that, and acne, and I remember him getting my fucking fish out, and I could smell the sweat his balls or something. Do you know what I mean? Aye, right, you know that way.
Right, get a bucket. Actual bit you be second. Just because this isn't your studio doesn't mean you can be second it.
Like that.
Just don't realize he'd done that. I think
Aye, before I meant to start. Aye. Just before I went, look at that.
Let's get this. Anybody who smells fucking amazing.
Aye, who did you want to fucking get a wee grab of their balls and that? All that good.
Just like walking by and going...
Andrew Kanchelskis in the Rangers shop in 1998. He smelled good. I was only about 9. I was like, wow, and it smells always loving me. Who smells good? The Hardy Brothers smell good. This is what a topic of obviously. But it's no the aftershave that well. They've got a good natural scent. They've got some natural scent. It's bizarre,
is that
man.
North Carolina musk, mate. It's famous.
Is it really?
I know.
Stevenson is like frozen chips. That smell.
Deep fried fries, isn't it? Before they're cooked.
Frozen potatoes.
I was saying to Evan, like, I don't know if you were going to ask about Hulk Hogan a bit.
Aye.
Right, but do you want to ask that for?
Right, well, alright, mate. No, you were talking about Hulk Hogan's shop.
So I went there, I was in Orlando, mate, and our hotel was like just right on that Universal Drive or whatever.
International Drive, is it no?
International Drive, sorry. Universal is the fucking the big playground they've got. But so we were in the shows. The carnival. I'm through carnival. I'm going to So like me and my wee cousin would just kind of walk about like that International Drive because it was just mad shit on it, know what I mean? And I just seen this just for around the corner. I just seen like a big Hulk Hogan standing on top of this big red shop and that. And I went in and there's like automated like like, hey brother, welcome in. And then I've still got I bought a mad cup with like Hulk Hogan, but I don't know anything about him. I just thought this cunt's fucking insane.
You know who he is?
But so that's like my history with Hulk Hogan.
Well, I was going to meet him. First time I was met to meet him, I was with Eugene. Remember Eugene for the WF? I kind of hung about with him because he stayed in Florida. I was in TNA. And we drove down to Clearwater Beach, tremendous. And it was the first night that I saw myself in River City. Fun enough, I was sitting with a VPN on the beach in Clearwater going, oh no, man.
What a life. What a fucking life.
Clearwater Beach going, oh no, I'm shut up, man. What's my So Eugene worked with Hogan, right, at WrestleMania. So he went in and the guy was like, hey Eugene, he's like, the big man's going to be in soon. He says, give him an hour. So that's when we went down the beach and I watched River City. Anyway, we come back and we could see folk coming out the shop and they were all going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And so Eugene's missus was like, oh, if we're going to see Hulk Hogan, I'm going to get my makeup. And I'm going, fucking hurry up, man, he's in the new, he's in the new. She's doing little mascara and stuff like that. I'm going, hurry up, hurry up. We walk in and the guy behind the show went, you just missed the big man by 30 seconds. He's away. So then we started fucking trying to follow, pathetic, right? He's trying to follow him, trying to find this yellow Maserati or whatever it was. So I was gutted because I never ever met him. But then when I hung about with Jeff Jarrett one WrestleMania weekend, he was like, let's go and get sushi. And I was trying to find the sushi place and I went, oh my God, Hulk Hogan's Beach Shop. I was like, he went, you want to go and meet the big man? I went, what, meet Hogan? I was like, fucking right, I want to meet the big man. So we pulled up outside Hulk Hogan's shop, man. There's like, it's WrestleMania weekend. He charges like $150 a picture. Punters that are there and they'll date. Do you know what I mean? There's a big massive line for Hulk Hogan. We come out the car, fucker going, Jarrett, let's get it. Some folk were recognising me. We get in. Jimmy Hart's like, hey, Hogan's taking a shit. He'll be out shortly. So we're all stunned about waiting. And then he came out and they Facebook Lived him coming out. And I'm like, I'm in Facebook Live with Hulk Hogan. And he come right over and Jeff Jarrett's like, how you doing, Terry? And all this. He says, this is my mate Grado. He says, oh, he can go. He's like the British version of you. And Hogan's like, oh, really, brother? How are you getting on? And without, I don't know why I done it, but I just took off my tap. I just took off my tap and went, how you doing, sir? Big fan of your work. I'm the British version of you, big man. He's like, okay. And I started going, and doing all the Hulk Hogan stuff,
make
man.
a wish.
I was like, yeah, I need to make an impact. You know what I mean? Make a wish.
Make yourself memorable. You know what I mean?
And I was like, I was so excited. And then like we got pictures and stuff like that. I came out and I was like, I can't believe Jeff, because Jeff was gone. You know, he's a really good worker. He's a really good wrestler. I was like, thanks for saying that. I was just fucking talking shit. I was like, what was I going to say that?
So he gave you the time of day.
I actually gave you the time of day, and then within 30 minutes, man, it come up the Sun Online. Bulk Hogan. Chubby Grappler Grado makes his hero in Orlando.
Chubby Grappler Grado?
Chubby Grappler. The Chubby Grappler. I'm the Chubby Grappler.
Formerly known as the lead singer of President Prime.
President Prime's lead singer. There's something else I wanted to ask you about. Two more things actually from my source. What, I think this is maybe the early days of ICW. Were you pranking wrestlers?
Aye. Mate, I've been doing it for years.
Still doing it?
I mean, see when I was like, this is a good one. See when I was about 15, 16-year-old, I used to email wrestling journalists and say that I was a wrestling journalist in Scotland, that I was like 30 odd and and I had my degree and all this. I was like, can you give me any wrestlers' phone numbers that I can phone to get interviews? And they gave me them. That's so clever. Me and my mate, that's very clever. So me and my mate Hammy went to the phone box in High Road with like £12 coins and stuck it in. And I remember phoning K-Quick. What's he called? Is he called K-Quick?
Ron
Killings. Ron and Truth Killings. I remember like phoning him up and then just like... And I always remember that we phoned him once and his voicemail was, I'm like a bird, I only fly away. Right? And I kept phoning it. And I eventually got through and I was like, hiya, this is Graham, I'm a wrestling journalist from Scotland. He's going, how'd you get my number? And I was like, well, I'm and I ended up, the fucking money just ran out, right? Because £12 in a phone box. But what's funny about that was, years later, I remember I was on the night shift in the fire brigade. I went, God, his voicemail was, I'm like a bird. I went, I'm going to tweet. I went, was your voicemail ever, I'm like a bird? I used to prank you. And he went, what the fuck? How do you know that? He'd remembered that was his voicemail.
Fucking hell.
But I used to, like, I remember the one in the same Fight Club, I used to the end of the day, I can't remember what guys I used to phone up, but I used to wake up the next morning with absolute fear. But I used to phone up I phoned up DDP a couple of years ago and stuff like that and asked him to try and get him into yoga and all that. He's my friend, it's 6 a.m. I'm like, get started in this yoga push. What are you doing? What, is it just eating lettuce and that? He's like, my friend, can you call me later? There's nothing, I get pranky, man. It's
Can't be a good pranky.
timeless.
You cannot, mate.
It is. Another one was buying Honky Tonk Man a fish supper.
No. Who tell you that?
Is that a lie?
I don't remember doing that. Who
You
tell
li-
you that?
Really?
Who tell you that?
That's a pure insane lie. Somebody's lied to me.
Why would you?
A fish supper? That's a fucking weird thing. The weirdest... No, the weirdest thing that I've with Honky Tonk Man was seeing him coming out Carl Luke Tesco with sandals and socks with a bunch of bananas.
Do you know what the Honky Tonk Man looks like?
I think
He
so.
looks like Elvis, mate.
Pull it up.
Get it up.
He looks like Elvis. Who said that?
Dallas.
Where's he pulled that from?
I fuck knows. Maybe he bought him it.
Maybe I can't remember that. I can't remember.
He
that.
looks like he likes
I
a
don't
fish supper.
I mean, he's
That's such a believable, like...
Aye, why would you make that up?
That sounds like a mad story generator.
But that's like the I mean, it's like Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Did you see Hacksaw Jim Duggan was in Aberdeen last week for an autograph signing, and he's just doing videos in Aberdeen going, "Hey, I'm in downtown Aberdeen. I've just been on a double decker bus." Like some of these Americans come out on Finn Scotland just like the best hang ever.
Aye.
And then you just see things like I remember seeing Kurt Angle in a Tesco in Carlisle like try to do the fucking self-service checkout. Do you know what I mean? And it's like folk in their jammies.
Did he have that in America?
I think they got it now. I don't know.
Was it here first?
I think I could be wrong, but he was just like, "What the hell's going on?" And I remember just like seeing folk coming. Now you see some maddies coming out in the middle of the night, going to Tesco in their jammies and stuff, and they're going, "Is that Kurt Angle at a self-service checkout?"
Mate, that's
you know
something
what I mean?
that you wouldn't like. See if you thought that, you'd be like, obviously it's no, and you just
Aye,
walk away. Do you know what I mean?
But it's that's aye.
I love stories like that. Like, see, because I always used to say to people, like, even I'm a Celtic fan, and I would be like, see if I met Henrik Larsson. I had met him, but just when I was really young. Like, but if I bumped into him, I'd be like, fucking Henrik Larsson. But see if like Stone Cold walked by me, my brain would just melt. Know what I mean? I'd be like, what? Because they don't feel like real people. That must have been what was mad for you, Ganel, and you're like, oh, they're actual people.
But I met Steve Austin once. He was in a hotel room doing an interview, and I went,
happening, bro?
I went in, I think they got that in video and all. And I was like, I was like, I need to meet Steve Austin. I went in right away and I went, how you doing, Steve? I'm a wrestler as well. Anyway, you know that way they carry back.
What, you're a mad stalker?
We used to do wrestling up.
But he was just like, hey, cool. I was like, obviously did a Steve Austin thing like that. With the cameras. Gas.
You can't beat it, man. You can't beat it. A bit about your podcast. I know you enjoying doing that.
Love doing the podcast, man. Do you know why I love doing it? It's because they two are like my close pals. We both have done panel with him now for years and years and years. He was on River City the first day I was on it with him. We just mega clicked. Mega clicked.
Is that what you met?
I've not on River City, and then I started doing the pantomime. When you do the pantomime, mate, you're there November to January. You're wearing 18 hours a day. It's like constant,
is it
man.
2 shows a day?
Two shows a day, so it's like 3 or 4 weeks of rehearsal. No, 3 weeks of rehearsal, and then that show, man, 82 shows, and it's a graft.
It's a graft.
It's a graft, but it's good fun, like, especially at the Pavilion, man. especially at the Pavilion because but you work for your money, man. You do. Because you've got to be fresh every. I mean, you've still got to in the 12th of January. You've still got to. So it means a lot of going, Christmas has been, man. What's the crack? The baddies coming out going, I'm going to take your presents. They're going, fucking Santa's on. I've got my presents.
I've brought them all.
So you've got to 11 o'clock in the morning where it's like the shows where there's maybe not a lot of folk there. You've got to get 100% every time.
This might be a stupid question.
No.
What's harder, pantomime or wrestling?
They're very similar for a start, by the way, and there's stuff that you can learn for doing a panto that you can put into wrestling, and wrestling that you can put into panto. Obviously, panto's more rigorous because wrestling you're only in the ring for 50 minutes and then that's you, whereas pantomime you're on the stage for like 2 or 3 years.
Costume changes,
singing, be at the right place at the right time, sometimes having to improvise, so you got to be more on the ball for a longer time. You get an hour's wee break and then you're back into for your call time to get your makeup on, costumes, and you're back on. So that's harder. But
do you need to, like, do you know how you're saying like it's rigorous, like you're morning, afternoon, fucking night time and all that. Do you ever like change wee bits? Are you allowed to change wee bits about your lines?
No, see, to be honest with you, no and again, I mean, I remember, so we had done, it was like the tail end of the run, and the Ali McCoy thing came out, you know, make no mistake about it, can I carry on? And so they added that just randomly, they asked me to add that in, and at first they were going, what is he doing? But then they kind of realised I was doing Ali McCoy's. But then the Ange one, did you see the Ange one?
I've not seen that. No.
So I've done an Ange impression, right? And Hit kind of kicked half as well. And I went on the stage.
So good, mate.
I went to do the Ange impression, and I can't remember. I was going, oh, that's a great. Can't remember what I said. The crowd just
did you
went,
do that? The cough.
I did do the cough on the stage. I forgot to do the video.
Wait, do you want to shut our eyes and then we'll give you something to say?
I can't do it now. I swear to God.
No, the Ali McCoy one was spot on.
But see, the Ange, I've never ever been able to do it since, and I'm not just saying that not to do it, right? Hold on.
Looking away in that.
Is this when you met Hulk Hogan? What's the name? Big man, right? No big Ange.
Ange, how do you think our game went today?
Well, first of all, it's a great game for him, mate. This is a hard place to come, so, you know, we look at it. That's 3 points, and that's the main thing, so, yeah, good.
Mate, that is so good, so good, that is spot on.
So I done that on the stage, right? Oh, it's a great time, mate. Aladdin, he's gonna get it. Get something like that, right?
Yeah.
And the crowd just went, and I went, he's a metal laugh. I went, I'll try it again. It's Ange Postecoglou, by the way. And then they went,
Did you ever get backstage to like, there's a Jim Cornette, but in the panel, like, what the fuck was that?
There is a guy.
Is that right?
He just retired the other day, Ian Gordon, who very much is not like Jim Cornette, but he's like Vince McMahon. That's why you can't. He was very much, don't change it, don't try to get smart out there and think you can go away for the lines and stuff like that. Just toe the line and do it. And he was brilliant. Like, it was hard to deal with, right? Because other theatres, they have a director that's in on the first night, you impress him, and then that's him away, and you've got free reign every night. But we had him every night, and it's hard, right? But it's brilliant, but because he does keeps you focused, and he was brilliant for it. He's just retired, man. He had like done like 50 years. He was like the owner of the pavilion, and he'd done everything, man. You know that Vince McMahon, like just ate, slept, and breathed pantomime in the pavilion and stuff like that. Oh, what a character!
Hopefully, nothing comes out about him that's come out of it. All Vince, man. Did you ever get? Did you ever get? I mean, has there ever been a sniff of the WWE? They ever wanted Grado?
So I was in one of my first times in TNA. I was really pally with Finn Balor, and he went, "Come tomorrow and I'll show you around the performance centre." Right. So I went in the performance centre stuff like that. He goes, "We're going out tonight with Prince Albert." Remember Prince Albert? He was in charge of NXT, and so we went that night, I'm with all the TNA wrestlers, right? We're all sitting getting a drink, and then the next minute Prince Albert and Finn Balor turn up, and I'm like, there's my left arm, I wait to see the boys, and they're like, instantly going, what's he doing? So we went out, had something to eat and stuff like that, and Finn was like showing him my stuff like that. He was like, Dusty Rhodes would love you, man, because he was at NXT at the time. He was like, Dusty, he was like, how long's your deal? When's your deal? He was like, okay, went on CL, can I? And then a couple of weeks later, Dusty Rhodes died. So I was like, not that I would have ever thingied, but I was like, oh, what, man? He was like, he'll love you kind of thing. There's been a couple of wee bits and bobs I've been asked to do. Like, I remember I was meant to do something for WWE Network like 2 years ago. And it was when Drew was fighting for a title, and I was to do like the kind of, the press the red button now, like I'll talk through it kind of thing. And like I signed a contract to do it, and then like a couple of years before it, they went, no, we don't need you.
See, just on Drew, I know obviously you kind of came through with him and that. Could you ask Dallas this, and he said 100%. Could you tell right away, like, even
100%, he's a star, man.
How mad
movie
is it?
Star looks, for 17-year-old man, looked like that, ripped, tanned, just jacked, like good looking. You just knew right away he was going to get it. And then when he did get signed, it was like, of course, man.
But do you think, what was it like? I mean, I don't want to go into his personal whatever he was thinking, but like, obviously he got let go, didn't he? And then got re-signed, and he had that stint where he was going around like independence in UK, and he came back to ICW, didn't he, for a bit? And that takes like a pure strong person mentally, because you could have crumbled after that if that's your dream.
Loads of people over the years with WWE, they kind of rest on their laurels and they live on their character. Like, somebody will make a character in WWE, and then, for example, he was in 3-man band, right, which was quite hokey. It was a gimmick where he was like a rock star, right? He could have came out and went and done family shows and be the rock man and like got photos with the Waynes and stuff like that. But what he done was he changed his character completely to be like a ass kicker.
Aye.
An ass kicker. Right, aye. Right, and then completely changed his character. Me and him feuded with an SEC, sold it out a month in advance, 5,000 folk there, me versus him. Mick Foley's a special enforcer and stuff like that, and he applied his trade oil in America and Newcastle. I'm getting Newcastle, fucking hell.
You're dying.
I tell you what, I don't know where I've got that back in about. I remember picking up a motor. I got a brand new motor for a garage down the road, right, and we were going to Newcastle. Right,
any excuse, man.
And do you know what, right? Because I drove up, I picked him up there, dropped off the old motor, got the brand new motor, right. Drove to a service station and he came out with a fucking Harry Ramsden. Maybe this is the story. He came out with a fucking fish supper in my brand new motor. I started eating a fish supper and I had it 10 minutes and I'm like, and the way back up I went, mate, do you know how rude that was? I was like, I'm not being funny, but why would you do that? Why would you not even say, can I bring a brand new fish? Can I bring a brand new fish supper? I'm talking absolute shit here. A brand new fish supper into a brand new car. That's what he done. I was like, how did you do that after?
You had to have a wee.
But
I was like sorry.
I was the same.
You had to have the post argument cool down about it.
Aye.
That was really bad what you did, by the way. Passive aggressive.
That's what it was like. It was not at the time, but another time I drove to Newcastle was the worst. I've got pure PTSD for driving to Newcastle because I was driving with home dad and I had really bad hay fever. And I was like, fuck it, man, I'm taking about 4 or 5 of these. And then I looked at the packet and it was sleeping pills. Mate, it was the worst day of my life, man. I was like, I've took sleeping pills. I was go to the show and I basically slept all the way until my match. Come back and slept for a couple of hours before I drove back up the road. That was one of the worst days ever.
Grim, by the way. That sounds it.
Fucking hell.
That sounds it.
Well, how long have we done, Jamie?
Wow. Hell, man.
Right, we'll let you go, mate. We'll let you go. I just want to ask you one more thing. What's your favourite moment in wrestling you've ever had? That moment you're like, fuck, man, it can't get any better than this.
My favourite moment in wrestling is when I gave Drew a hurricane run at the SEC. Because right, so 5,000 folk there, and we're going to the match, and Drew went, so you think you could do a hurricane run? And I'm going, no. And he went, no, buddy, come on, it's the main event, we've got to do it. People will love it, the place is going to explode. I went, I'm not be able to do it. Hurricane Run is basically where you jump for a tat rope, kind of scissor their neck and spin around and get them to flip out, right? Right? I'm like, I've never done that before. He went, you'll be fine, how can I carry it through?
Is that not something that you should be training for in that?
Aye, right, that was never my bag, right? But see, when he said that to me, see, all my nerves about my match went away because I went, well, it's going to be fucked. I went, there's no point of worrying about this because this is going to fall on its ass. I'm going to do a hurricane run and I'm going to fall flat in my hoop and that's going to be it. And anyway, so we're in that, mate, brilliant, man. So go back and watch it YouTube, 5,000 folk, everybody's gone, Grado. He whips me into the corner, I put the boot up, go up and give him the hurricane run, the place just erupts, and I went, wow. And I'm in the main event, SEC, I know that Mick Foley's going to come out and help me. I was like, this is gallus. I was like, I'm pure pinging about going, I'm a wrestler. I loved it.
Lovely, man.
That's that drug you're talking about,
that's correct. Aye, man, that's it. And you can't replace it, man. You can't replace it.
Aye, that's fucking class.
Oh, well.
What I'm saying.
Right, we'll let you go now, mate. We've kept you long enough.
That's a graft, man. Man, how's the big day? 2.5. Wow, that's pure Joe Rogan shit, man. I know.
For aiming for, mate. Right.
But hold on. But, mate, the two of you stick in, man, because yous are really good. And I'm not joking, you really are good at it. I'm sorry. You've got to proud of yourselves that you've got a YouTube channel where folk are actually watching it. There's so many podcasts out there. People in Scotland, they do it and they're doing it to a blank wall. So you've got to be proud of yourselves and you're really good and easy to talk to.
Thank you so much. As are you, mate.
So what one wants to get off of me?
Both of you.
Big boy.
Thank you so much, mate.
Cheers.
Troops, have a wee comment, like, whatever, subscribe to all that stuff.
Do whatever you want.
Cheers.
Love yous.
What an episode that was, Troops, eh? Can you believe it? We're at the end. And it's very sad, but I've got some good news. We have more content that's not available on YouTube. It's available on patreon.com/Reilly'sGaff. Now, every month we're uploading a minimum of 2 new episodes exclusive to Patreon. Also with that, you're getting every single episode that we do on YouTube and obviously the Patreon ones. 0 ads. None. Just watch the full thing. We post the audio on there as well if you normally just listen to us. So, and I mean, it helps support us. So if you like what we're doing and you want to kind of show your appreciation and be like, look, I want to help you get to where you want to be with us, then go over to patreon.com/Reilly's Gaff and sign up. We also have the Be a Director tier, which you can do for 1 month or 12 months if you want, and you can just basically be our director. What that is you get to choose what we do for a full episode. So if you want us to watch something, it's mostly deep fried stuff. So if you want us to look into, like, for example, we just had boy Junior Mulvey, he selected 9/11, so we done a 9/11 podcast, things like that. So go over there, show us some support. We do appreciate it, troops. Cheers.